Chapter 17. Originally, this matter was a very simple matter. Jiang Xiu beat up the discipline master, and could be directly expelled without any room for discussion. The problem was that the victim, Teacher Wang, actually said that he fell down himself. This matter was more troublesome. The school could not force the crime of beating up a teacher onto Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu himself might not be convinced, and there was no way to explain it to the Education Bureau. Now it was different. Whether it was the Yi family or the Cheng family, the leaders of the Education Bureau had to be respectful when they saw them. If there were any problems, naturally these two families would take responsibility. Qin Lin said. Student Cheng Lingsu, don't worry. Our school attaches great importance to this matter. The impact of this matter is so bad that it will not only affect students like you who are good at studying and preparing for the college entrance exam, but it will also affect the safety of our teachers. Nonsense. A student beating up a teacher. This is simply unreasonable. Now the school's teachers have a lot of opinions and expressed that they are not willing to come to class. Especially Jiang Xiu's class, grade 12 class 5. Cheng Lingsu asked. Then how does the principal plan to deal with it? Qin Lin pondered for a moment and said. On Monday's flag-raising ceremony, in front of all the teachers and students, let him self-reflect in front of all the teachers and students. Let him deeply realize his mistakes, and then the school will publicly announce his expulsion. No matter if he is a grade 12 student or not, no matter if it is close to the college entrance exam, the school will absolutely have zero tolerance for this kind of violence. Although this sounded very cruel to a student, considering Jiang Xiu's wrongdoings, this punishment was already considered light. This was already a criminal offense, and not only was he expelled, but he also had to go to jail. This was considered letting him off lightly. Cheng Lingsu said. Then let's do this for now. After he was expelled, it was estimated that he would be able to understand what kind of society this was and what kind of role he played in this society. Then he would understand that an arm cannot crush a thigh. He would understand that canceling the engagement was the only way. At that time, they would help him restore his status as a student. Jiang Xiu, after all, you and I are people from two different worlds. If you insist on climbing the social ladder, aren't you just looking for trouble? Then I won't disturb the principal. Cheng Lingsu was very satisfied with the principal's decision. Now, all she had to do was wait for next Monday, which was the school's rising assembly. At that time, everything would be revealed. Time passed in the blink of an eye, and Monday arrived as promised. According to tradition, the school held a flag-raising ceremony every Monday. Everyone had to wear their school uniforms and line up in the field. The principal or the discipline master would give them a half-hour-long lecture. Today, as usual, everyone was a little sleepy and walked to the sports field in groups of 3 or 5. Jiang Xiu was also in the crowd. What happened in the martial arts hall didn't cause much of a stir. In fact, it was quickly forgotten. The main reason was that martial arts received too little attention. If it had been Jiang Xiu who had crushed his opponents in a basketball or football match, he would have definitely become a famous person on campus. What he did in the martial arts hall didn't have as much influence as beating up the discipline master. In fact, there were not many people who went to the martial arts dojo that day. If Teacher Gu Shi had not gone out personally to catch him, there might not even be a shadow in the martial arts dojo. For example, Jiang Xiu's 3 roommates hid in the internet cafe outside. Even the class monitor, Chen Yuyang, was hiding. For example, people like Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoran might as well find a place to have a cup of coffee. Only idiots would watch a match that had nothing to do with them, and had no interest in it. Jiang Xiu, stop right there. A female teacher in her 50s with glasses called out to him. Jiang Xiu still had some impression of her. If he remembered correctly, she was the vice principal of the school. During the flag-raising ceremony on Monday, she often went on stage to lecture him. Moreover, she did not stop talking. If he remembered correctly, her surname was Wei. Teacher Wei. For today's ceremony, you don't need to line up. Go over to the rostrum and stand there. Teacher Wei's eyes were filled with disdain. It was as if Jiang Xiu was some kind of dirty thing. Jiang Xiu had dominated the Tianwu continent. Even the emperor had to kneel down and greet him. Now that he was being lectured by a teacher, What made him angrier was that he had no choice but to listen. His current status was a student. Why? Teacher Wei laughed strangely. You still have the face to ask? Don't you know what you did wrong? Think about it carefully. Later, you will have to reflect deeply in front of all the teachers and students of the school. Jiang Xiu said. What do you want me to reflect on? Teacher Wei angrily glared. You still have the right to hit a teacher? If you don't reflect deeply, then I and all the other teachers in the school will not attend classes. You still have the right to say that? If we can't even guarantee our safety, how can we attend classes? Jiang Xiu made a no sound. Teacher Wei said. Think about it carefully yourself. After saying that, she no longer paid attention to Jiang Xiu and turned around to leave. When the students at the side saw her, they all obediently called her Teacher Wei. Jiang Xiu's gaze searched through the crowd. However, he was surprised to see the discipline director, Wang Xuebin. Didn't this guy say that he had a concussion and a broken rib? He still came to school to work? However, it was true that his face was bruised and swollen. Does he know that the school wants me to reflect on myself during the ceremony? Jiang Xiu thought that Wang Xuebin might know, but he also might not know. However, no matter what, he shouldn't be able to stop it. Hitting a teacher was an indisputable fact. Even if he denied it, there were so many people in the classroom. So many pairs of eyes had clearly seen it. The school definitely wouldn't ignore this matter and ignore it. Perhaps, Wang Xuebin was forced to attend the ceremony by the school. According to normal circumstances, he should be lying in the hospital or at home. This sovereign wants to see how you guys want to deal with this sovereign. According to Teacher Wei's instructions, Jiang Xiu walked towards the rostrum. He just happened to pass by the group from grade 12 class 1. Cheng Lingsu had unknowingly appeared beside him. In today's ceremony, the principal will expel you in front of everyone. Cheng Lingsu also threw caution to the wind today. She spoke to him in front of everyone. It's not too late for you to regret it now. I have the contract with me. As long as you sign your name, the principal will change his mind. Jiang Xiu said. Those who threaten this sovereign never have a good ending. He didn't even look at Cheng Lingsu. Jiang Xiu walked up to the rostrum with large strides. Normally, the students who were criticized would droop their heads and not raise it. This guy, on the other hand, not only walked up with large strides, he was also arrogant. Those who didn't know better would think that he was going up to receive an award. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking like a king. In any case, he was more impressive than any of the teachers present. Everyone's line of sight also turned to Jiang Xiu, who was on the rostrum. They all heard that he hit a teacher, and it was quite fierce. As for the grade 12 and grade 12 students, they didn't know about it yet. They all looked at him curiously. I reckon that Jiang Xiu is going to be miserable this time. Lu Xiaoyan said in the crowd. Yi Bing said. He won't be expelled, right? Although the girl didn't like Jiang Xiu, and could even be said to hate him, they were still classmates. She couldn't bear to see Jiang Xiu get expelled so miserably. He hit a teacher. How can he not be expelled? A female student on the side said. On the other side, in grade 12 class 1's group, Cheng Lingsu was already in the group. She was panting with anger and her beautiful face was cold. I think you won't cry until you see the coffin. Then don't blame me. You asked for it. She also wore a school uniform today. But even the ordinary school uniform couldn't hide her natural beauty. Instead, it added to the charm of a pure school beauty. It was really very attractive. For the people in the other classes, the only thing worth looking forward to at Monday's flag-raising ceremony was the opportunity to look at Cheng Lingsu from afar. Some of the more timid ones stole a few glances, while some of the more courageous ones directly stared at her. And Cheng Lingsu only had Jiang Xiu in her eyes right now. Seeing that almost everyone had arrived, Principal Qin Lin personally held the microphone and spoke. He had a distressed expression. Students, just the day before yesterday, which is last Saturday, a very serious and unprecedented vicious incident occurred in the school. The situation was so bad that it made people's hair stand on end. Hearing that the matter was so serious, the students who usually didn't have much interest in listening were also interested. What exactly happened? You guys still don't know, right? The discipline master was beaten up by a grade 12 senior. Damn, it can't be, a senior is awesome. Wang Xuebin was really too unpopular. You must want to know what happened to our second high school, the best school in Jiang City. You won't believe it if I tell you. Even I can't believe that this happened in our school. Qin Lin was heartbroken. Our teacher, our respected teacher Wang Xuebin, was beaten up by a student. His head was broken and bleeding. Hearing this, everyone looked at Wang Xuebin. His head was still wrapped with white gauze. Coupled with his face that was uglier than crying, he really looked very miserable. And the murderer who beat up our teacher, who is he? It's Jiang Xiu from grade 12 class 5. Qin Lin said Jiang Xiu's name and couldn't wait to smash the microphone. I've taught all my life, but I've never seen such a bad student. It really makes people's hair stand on end. Our second high school can't tolerate such a pest. The school has decided to expel Jiang Xiu. Wow, there was an uproar in the hall. Chapter 18. After hearing the headmaster's announcement, Cheng Lingsu felt a sense of satisfaction in her heart. She lifted her chin slightly. You asked for it. You can forgive the sins of heaven, but you can't live with the sins you brought upon yourself. However, when her gaze landed on Jiang Xiu, she couldn't help but feel strange. This guy didn't even have a trace of sadness, let alone regret. He stood with his hands behind his back, his gaze sweeping across them as if he was looking down on the world. It was as if the person who was expelled wasn't him, but the person he expelled. He was so arrogant. Cheng Lingsu felt even more infuriated when she saw this. Jiang Xiu, you're expelled. You're no longer a student of our Jiangqing No. 2 high school. The headmaster made the final decision. The teachers beside the headmaster all had a look of disdain on their faces. Jiang Xiu, do you have anything else to say? The headmaster looked at Jiang Xiu. He still hoped that Jiang Xiu could deeply realize his mistake and reflect on himself in front of all the teachers and students of the school. He would also apologize solemnly and say some words of gratitude to his alma mater for nurturing him. The headmaster gestured for the microphone to be passed to Jiang Xiu. At this moment, Jiang Xiu was the enemy of all the teachers. All of them wanted nothing more than to rush up and point their fingers at his nose to scold him. Only one teacher was completely dumbfounded. This person was Wang Xuebin. He realized that if Jiang Xiu was expelled, he would definitely say that he had violated a female student. He grabbed the vice headmaster, Teacher Wei, and roared, "Why? Why didn't you inform me of such a big matter?" Why? Teacher Wei was shocked. He explained, "This matter was decided by our school's leaders. We've already reported it to the Education Bureau. No matter what the reason is, you're unwilling to admit that you were violently treated by that bad student. However, many students have witnessed it with their own eyes. Now that things have come to this, there's no way to change it." Wang Xuebin's face was ashen. "Teacher Wang, don't worry. This student doesn't have any family background. His parents are just fruit sellers. We've expelled him. What can they do to you? It's fine." Wang Xuebin looked at Teacher Wei in a daze. "Nothing, your sister." Wait, maybe it was just like what Teacher Wei said. He was too nervous. Now that Jiang Xiu had been expelled from the school, if he went to the police station to report the case, he would be suspected of slander. If the victims did not dare to stand up, and he had some connections in the police station, perhaps he really would not be able to make any waves. Wang Xuebin gradually calmed down as he thought of this, and the matter had already happened. Jiang Xiu casually took the microphone, but his first sentence made all the teachers and students present exclaim in surprise. "Principal Qin Lin, trash." Whoosh, is he crazy? He's scolding the principal in public. The headmaster's face suddenly changed. His expression was extremely ugly. He had overestimated his school and underestimated Jiang Xiu's desire to become a bad youth in society. Scum of the education world, vermin. Such a person doesn't deserve to be a teacher, much less a principal. Qin Lin's face immediately became like a frosted eggplant. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. Go and grab his microphone back for me." At this moment, a shrill siren sounded at the quiet campus entrance, startling all the people present. The chaotic situation became even more chaotic. What's the situation? Are they here to arrest Jiang Xiao? Cheng Lingsu could not help laughing. Her beautiful eyes sparkled with excitement. She was still a little worried that Jiang Xiao would not compromise if he was just expelled. After all, he had not been forced into a dead end. Now the police were dispatched. He was about to face the disaster of being imprisoned. He had to compromise even if he did not want to. A group of 6 people in police uniforms and police hats strode over. The incomparably majestic national emblem shone with moving brilliance under Cheng Xi's eyes. It's great that you're here. The headmaster, who had been mad, saw the police officers. He immediately felt as if he had seen his parents. Arrest him. With a creak, the news interview car drove directly into the playground of the school. A group of people rushed over with cameras, microphones, and all kinds of guns. Even the news media is here. This matter is getting out of hand. However, the police officers did not go to Jiang Xiao. Instead, they came to Wang Wenbin, the discipline director, and said, "Mr. Wang Wenbin, we have received a report that you are suspected of multiple cases of molesting, sexually assaulting female students. Now we are going to arrest you." When the police came to Wang Wenbin, he realized that something was wrong. Hearing this, his legs went soft and he almost fell to the ground. He was handcuffed directly. It exploded. The whole venue was in an uproar. All the teachers and students could not stay calm at this moment. I told you that Wang Xuebin is a pervert. He molested female students. Beast. The news media took the opportunity to rush up. The female anchor almost put the microphone in Wang Xuebin's face. Excuse me, what kind of perverted mentality do you have to do such a thing? Is it because of the shadow of childhood? Or is it because of the unfortunate marriage? At this time, Wang Xuebin looked as if his parents had died. His eyes were dull, as if his soul had been taken away. Please answer. The police officers did not wait for the media to finish their interview. They directly dragged Wang Xuebin away. Yes, dragged. His legs were so weak that he could not walk. He clearly knew what was waiting for him. The news media saw that they could not get a topic from Wang Xuebin, so they all rushed to Jiang Xiao. Excuse me, are you Jiang Xiao? Are you the one who exposed this beast of a teacher's crimes? Jiang Xiao was still holding the microphone in his hand. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. So I beat up the beast of a teacher, Wang Xuebin, to set an example for those girls who were persecuted. We must not be timid in the face of crime. We must not tolerate it. I did it, and so did the victim. Jiang Xiao did not report the case. Naturally, the one who reported the case was the victim. Jiang Xiao said. However, it's a pity that although I've upheld justice and saved the persecuted female students, I was expelled by the school's unscrupulous principal. The female anchor said in astonishment, Why? Jiang Xiao said, Because I beat up the beast of a teacher, Wang Xuebin. The principal wanted to cover up for him, so he could only expel me. Wow, the teachers and students present were in an uproar. The female anchor's beautiful face showed anger. When she wanted to ask more questions, Principal Qin Lin said angrily, You are talking nonsense. I did not, Jiang Xiao said. What? You still won't let me tell the truth. As the principal, you actually dared to openly cover up for a criminal, turning a perfectly fine school into a foul atmosphere. I said that you're trash, that you're a vermin. Now the media reporters are here. When the time comes, let the general public judge. Hearing this, Qin Lin's face turned pale. Jiang Xiao beat up Wang Xuebin in order to protect the victim, but he expelled him. He was indeed suspected of covering up for Wang Xuebin. This matter was serious. Qin Lin reacted quickly. Ha ha ha. We are not going to expel Jiang Xiao. On the contrary, we are at the commendation ceremony. He was dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded. Principal, can you be more shameless? Do you really think we are stupid? Students. Everyone, please be quiet. What happened just now must be clear to everyone. The discipline director, Wang Xuebin, violated a female student and was arrested by the police on the spot. Our little hero, Jiang Xiao, is not afraid of the strong, upholds justice, and fights with the criminal regardless of his own safety. He is really a role model for our generation. Let's applaud. He took the lead in applauding. But it was very embarrassing. No one under the stage responded. The words that he scolded Jiang Xiu just now were still vivid in his ears. Principal, don't you feel pain when you slap your own face like this? Where is the commendation? Hurry up, go and get the commendation. Oh. The teacher was very cooperative and hurried to get the commendation. I will personally give the award to the little hero, Jiang Xiu, who fought the perverted devil bravely. Well, a meeting to expel and criticize Jiang Xiu had turned into a meeting to praise Jiang Xiu. Qin Lin was indeed the headmaster. When the teacher went to receive the praise, he bragged about Jiang Xiu's heroic deeds for a full 5 minutes. Moreover, there was no repetition. Even Jiang Xiu, a strong immortal martial artist who was used to flattering words, had goosebumps all over his body. In the impassioned music, the principal personally put on the commendation for Jiang Xiu. Everyone applauded. Cheng Lingsu's pretty face was cold. Originally, she wanted to teach Jiang Xiu a lesson, but now, not only was he not expelled, but he was also in the limelight. Jiang Xiu's heroic deeds might even get bonus points in the college entrance examination, ranging from 20 to 50 points. Today's commendation ceremony is over. Everyone, when you go back, write an essay to learn from Jiang Xiu. The number of words can't be less than 10,000, and it must be profound, profound, and profound. After the ceremony, the news media continued to interview the principal, asking him to express his views on Wang Xiaobin's case. The principal was organizing his words. Suddenly his face turned pale and he shouted, "It's over." Yesterday he sent Jiang Xiu's expulsion document to the Education Bureau. If second high school really expelled him, then he would be suspected of covering up for Wang Xiaobin. How could he care about the interview? He ran to the Education Bureau with cold sweat on his forehead. After the principal ran away, there was also the vice principal. Mr. Wei said to the news media, "Well, yes, Jiang Xiu has always been a good student with good moral and academic performance. He is a child with a very bright future. He is very brave, and I am very optimistic about his future." Chapter 19. Everyone in the school knew that Jiang Xiu was not at fault for beating up a teacher. Instead, it was a great achievement. Everyone said that he beat up the teacher well, especially among the girls. He had won a good impression of him. Yi Bing's impression of Jiang Xiu had changed a lot. She felt that he was not as annoying as before. There was even a hint of appreciation in her eyes. No matter what his background was, what his grades were, or what his looks were, a brave and responsible boy was very admirable. Even Cheng Lingsu, who looked down on Jiang Xiu, was speechless at this time. She felt that he was not completely useless. However, even if Jiang Xiu's action was just, it could not change her heart. She wanted to break off the engagement. She was very clear that Jiang Xiu and she were from two different worlds. One was a commoner, and the other was the daughter of an aristocratic family. They were not well matched in terms of social status. If they forced a marriage, there would be no happiness. Moreover, she did not like Jiang Xiu at all. Looking at Jiang Xiu, who was sitting on the rostrum with a calm expression, Cheng Lingsu shook her head lightly. "Since you have the courage to fight against evil forces, why don't you have the courage to let go of this unrealistic engagement and live your own life?" Cheng Lingsu decided that she would talk to Jiang Xiu again. She was really anxious about her engagement with Jiang Xiu. She felt as if there was a shackle on her body, making her feel very uncomfortable. In fact, she had reached the age of first awakening of love. She longed for love. She even thought that Yi Wenchen was a very good partner. She could taste the taste of her first love. However, she did not dare to. It was not because she was still a student. There were many first loves in the school, including parents and teachers who were not as pedantic as before. It was because of this engagement. She felt that she was already engaged. If she fell in love with someone else, it would be like betrayal and disloyalty. She could not accept herself doing this. Therefore, she had to break off the engagement with Jiang Xiu as soon as possible. She even carried the contract with her directly, waiting for Jiang Xiu to sign it at any time to break free from this shackle on her body. Cheng Lingsu sent a message to Jiang Xiu. "Let's meet after class in the morning." Jiang Xiu, where? Cheng Lingsu pondered for a moment. They were not allowed to leave the school at noon and could only stay in the school. The safest place in the school was the abandoned teaching building, which was uninhabited. Chenglingsu, abandoned building. Jiang Xiu, I will definitely come as promised. During the 4 classes in the morning, Chenglingsu was not in the mood to listen at all. She was thinking about how to persuade Jiang Xiu. She even imagined that Jiang Xiu would suddenly agree to break off the engagement with her. She was frowning for a while, and then happy for a while. She was completely absent-minded. However, the campus bell chang's every frown and smile touched the hearts of many boys, including the student council president, Yuan Chen. He was a very sensitive and wise person, so he couldn't help but feel strange. Chenglingsu had always been very serious in class, so why was she so distracted today? After class, a beautiful figure impatiently appeared in the abandoned building. She was wearing a blue and white school uniform and a pair of simple sneakers. She walked through the alley that was overgrown with weeds. However, Jiang Xiu was already a step ahead of her. What business do you have with me? His gaze was fixed on Chenglingsu's beautiful face. Chenglingsu could feel a certain kind of love, or even infatuation, from his gaze. She had seen this kind of love in the eyes of many boys before. However, compared to those pure gazes, Jiang Xiu's gaze had an additional trace of sadness. It was a kind of sadness that could make one's heart drunk, and it could even be said to be heart-wrenching sadness. This kind of gaze only flashed by for a moment, and after looking at it, Jiang Xiu's gaze would disappear. Chenglingsu knew that he was able to restrain his gaze. It could be seen that his self-control was still very strong. Chenglingsu said, Jiang Xiu, you've made me have a whole new level of respect for you by upholding justice for the students who were victimized. About that, my view of you has indeed changed. However, I'm very serious. I hope that you can reconsider our relationship. We're not suitable for each other. Jiang Xiu didn't say anything. Chenglingsu said, I know that this has hurt you, but we've played together since we were young, and we're also friends. I've even treated you as an older brother. You don't want our relationship to be strained in the end, right? Their eyes were really too similar. Jiang Xiu's gaze was somewhat blurred. Those eyes that he had tried hard to forget for hundreds of years. Those eyes that were filled with tears and despair, were like a knife that cut open his heart. And the bridge of her nose, high and exquisite. Jiang Xiu still remembered a teardrop dripping from the tip of her nose, streaking across time and space, dripping onto the ground and shattering into pieces. And her red lips, every frown and smile, pouting and acting cute, pretending to be angry. Jiang Xiu felt that his heart was beating very fast. Chenglingsu said, How about it, Jiang Xiu? Let's just be ordinary friends, okay? Her tone was almost pleading. You'll definitely meet a girl in the future that you love, and she loves you. A trace of pain flashed across Jiang Xiu's face. His right hand was somewhat trembling as he reached out towards Chenglingsu, wanting to touch her face. Chenglingsu hurriedly leaned back. Seeing that blurry face getting closer and closer to his hand, Jiang Xiu finally woke up. He said, Let me kiss you, and I can promise you. What? Chenglingsu almost didn't dare to believe her ears. Jiang Xiu actually made such an excessive request. I already said that I don't like you, and you still want to kiss me? But she understood that this was a boy's possessiveness towards the girl he loved. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to act like a hooligan. A strange feeling welled up in her heart, and her charming face became somewhat hot. If I let you kiss me, will you really agree to annul the engagement with me? Jiang Xiu said, I'll do as I say. Chenglingsu clenched her teeth. She thought that for the sake of freedom, she might as well give up her first kiss. She closed her eyes as if she was a martyr going to the battlefield. Her skin was spotlessly white like snow, and under the sunlight, it appeared translucent. Perhaps it was because she felt wronged in her heart, but her beautiful eyebrows were knitted together, giving her a delicate and pitiful feeling. Also because she was nervous, her tightly closed eyes and long black and curved eyelashes were like butterfly wings faintly trembling. Her rosy soft lips were tightly pursed together. She used a lot of force to prevent Jiang Xiu from doing something even more outrageous. The grief in Jiang Xiu's eyes became even stronger. Although Chenglingsu's eyes were closed, she could still feel Jiang Xiu's gaze on her. She couldn't help but open her eyes, and her deep and clear beautiful eyes revealed anger. This made her look a bit more barbaric. Have you seen enough? Are you going to kiss me or not? If she didn't have this barbaric strength, Cheng Lingsu would really be exactly like her. Sure. Jiang Xiu signaled her not to destroy it. Cheng Lingsu had no choice but to close her eyes again. Then, she felt Jiang Xiu's hot breath become more and more intense as it hit her charming face. Immediately, her whole body felt like it was being electrocuted. At this moment, her mind was completely blank. After an unknown amount of time, she realized what she had lost. She suddenly opened her mouth and fiercely bit down. Even if Jiang Xiu was a veteran, he was still bitten at this time. A burst of sharp pain assaulted him, and he let out a miserable scream. He reached out his hand to touch his mouth. His hand was covered in bright red blood. You're crazy. Cheng Lingsu stubbornly looked at him. You're the crazy one. Now that you've kissed me, you should be satisfied. After saying that, she took out the contract that she had already prepared. You can sign it now. Jiang Xiu touched his mouth again. It was bitten and blood was flowing into his mouth. He took the contract, glanced at it, and then left without looking back. Hey, Jiang Xiu said. Wait for me to sign it, and I'll give it to you. Cheng Lingsu was still holding the pen in her hand, but Jiang Xiu was already far away. She knew that bastard must have done it on purpose. He wanted to take revenge on her for biting him. Hurry up. On the other side, there was also a couple who had witnessed all of this. Oh my god, it's the school beauty Cheng Lingsu. Isn't she a couple with Yi Wenchen? How did she get together with the person who hit the teacher? This is big news. Before Cheng Lingsu returned to the classroom, the news had already reached Yi Wenchen's ears. With a loud bang, the plate was smashed to pieces. His chest violently rose and fell. You're saying that Jiang Xiu kissed Cheng Lingsu? It's absolutely true. Lin Shu, who was on the side, quickly signaled for the person who came to report to leave. He knew Yi Wenchen too well. He looked polite, but in reality, he was more ruthless than anyone. You want to steal Su Su from me? Yi Wenchen's voice sent chills down people's spines. Lin Shu said, Young Master Chen, what do you plan to do? Yi Wenchen said, Didn't he make a great contribution? Our student union should express our gratitude. We should invite him out, and let the martial arts department cripple him. Chapter 20. Since such a big incident had happened in the school, and Jiang Xiu had played such a positive role in it, the student union should express their gratitude. Lin Shu went to look for Jiang Xiu and expressed the student union's appreciation for him. He also invited him to join in the entertainment activities. Jiang Xiu gladly agreed. As for the relationship between Jiang Xiu and Cheng Lingsu, after the student union president Yi Wenchen asked the couple to keep it a secret, Jiang Xiu went to class as usual. During this period, Cheng Lingsu asked him several times to sign the annulment agreement, but he did not respond. Cheng Lingsu was so angry that she gritted her teeth. However, she could not directly rush to Jiang Xiu's classroom or dormitory to settle the score with him. This matter was delayed for the time being. Jiang Xiu gradually became familiar with his classmates, especially Yi Bing, whose attitude towards him became much better. The incident of him beating up Wang Xuebin had changed Yi Bing's view of him. To some extent, the two of them could be considered friends. On Thursday, another big incident happened in the school. The principal of the school was fired because he was suspected of covering up for Wang Xuebin. On Monday, when Qin Lin rushed to the Education Bureau, the usually inefficient Education Bureau suddenly took the wrong medicine that day. They had already registered the dismissal of Jiang Xiu. Then, under the pressure of the news media, the Education Bureau had no choice but to dismiss him. Principal Qin was full of grievances and regrets. He packed his things and left Jiang City No. 2 High School under the surveillance of the security guards. He left the glorious principal's throne. The sun on Sunday afternoon was very bright and scattered in the quiet campus. The shadows of the trees in front of the building were shining, accompanied by the gentle sound of the wind. It was very comfortable. Jiang Xiu came to the student union's activity room as promised. Dong dong. Who is it? A pleasant voice sounded. Jiang Xiu felt that it was somewhat familiar. Then he heard light footsteps approaching. The door of the student union office was opened, and a beautiful face came into view. Cheng Lingsu was very surprised. "Why are you here?" In the office, all the other members of the student union were there, which made her nervous. She was afraid that her relationship with Jiang Xiu would be exposed. She lowered her voice and warned him. "What are you doing here?" Only then did Jiang Xiu remember that Cheng Lingsu, the proud daughter of heaven, was also a member of the student union. Lin Shu from the student council said that in order to commend my bravery, the student council wants to treat me to a meal and hold an entertainment event. "Susu, who is it? Is it Jiang Xiu?" Seeing that Cheng Lingsu had opened the door and was not back for a long time, Yi Wenchen walked over. He was very handsome, about 1.8 meters tall, had delicate features, wore glasses, and had a gentle look. There was even a warm smile on his face. It was impossible to tell that at this moment. The jealousy in his heart was almost devouring him. "You must be Jiang Xiu, right? We were waiting for you. Brothers, our hero is here. Get ready, let's go." There were quite a lot of people in the office. There were at least 10 people. "Hey, you're here." The one who greeted Jiang Xiu was Lin Shu, who had come to meet Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu nodded slightly to him as a greeting. If it was in his previous life, he would have nothing to do with these rich boys. At that time, they were existences that he looked up to. "Where are we going?" Lin Shu said, "The new city. There are many entertainment venues there, bars, discos, karaoke, and game halls. Let's go there. You'll definitely have fun." When they arrived at the school gate, they saw that all the cars were luxurious. The worst was an Audi or a BMW. It could be seen that this group of rich boys had a shocking financial background. There was even a Ferrari among them. They arranged to stay in the new city area for a reason. It was newly built and many of the construction projects were carried out. There were foreign workers and local hooligans. In short, the new city area was now very chaotic. If something happened to Jiang Xiu there, he would not be able to get away scot-free. Who could he blame? It's a coincidence today. One of my buddies opened a new store there. Let's go and support him. It was a splendidly decorated entertainment venue. It was unknown if there were any improper things inside. However, it was still daytime. Many students even came in their school uniforms. As for Jiang Xiu and his gang, they were all wearing fashionable clothes to show off their individuality. For example, Cheng Lingsu was dressed very fashionably. She wore a windbreaker that accentuated her long and slender legs. She had an ethereal temperament and was like a beautiful scenery that attracted countless gazes. This group of people often hung out and knew each other. Only Jiang Xiu was a stranger. He was faintly excluded. Even if Jiang Xiu put down the face of spiritual cultivation to communicate with them, they could not talk about the same thing. There was no topic of conversation. He could not say how the talisman should be drawn, how the formation was wrong, the timing of the sword technique was wrong, or how to arrange another day to conquer a planet. There was no way to talk. They really could not talk about the same thing. However, this did not affect his mood. It was rare for him to come back, so he naturally wanted to experience it. After all, it would take him hundreds of years to cultivate to the point where he could leave Earth and return to the immortal martial continent. "How is it? Have you arranged the people from the martial arts department?" "It's arranged," Lin Shu said. "They're just next door. They eat, drink, and play. It's not a problem to let them beat someone up." "Someone up?" Yi Wenchen's eyes were filled with a terrifying aura. Lin Shu could not help but be shocked. "I'll say it again. I'm not going to beat him up. I'm going to cripple him. Do you understand?" Lin Shu's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. "Cripple him directly?" Yi Wenchen said. "As long as no one dies, are you afraid that I won't be able to handle it?" Lin Shu naturally didn't think that Yi Wenchen wouldn't be able to handle it. Even if someone died, there wouldn't be any problems. At most, it would just be a little troublesome. However, Lin Shu didn't think that Yi Wenchen would be so ruthless. Just because of a girl, he would directly cripple someone. He couldn't help but break out in cold sweat for those who went against Yi Wenchen. Whoever went against him, their end would definitely be miserable. I haven't told the martial arts department about this. Just treat it as a beating. Let's go together. Yi Wenchen stood up. You guys have fun first. I'll go order with young Master Lin. With that, he went out with Lin Shu. Young Master Yi. Seeing Yi Wenchen come over, the martial arts department people all stood up to greet him. This person was incredible. Not only was he the student council president, his family background was even more impressive. He was a true descendant of an aristocratic family. If they did not make a name for themselves in the future, it would be easy to ask Yi Wenchen for a job. Clang. A large stack of red girls was thrown on the coffee table. Here's 100,000. Yi Wenchen lowered his head and wiped his glasses. I'm going to cripple that kid. This money belongs to whoever is willing to do it. If anything happens, I'll take care of it. The martial arts department people were basically all there. Since someone was treating them to a meal, there was no reason for them not to come. Hearing this, they looked at each other and then at the stack of money. Their eyes started to wander. Young Master Yi, how do you want to cripple him? Yi Wenchen said. Break both his arms and legs. It's best if he's permanently disabled. The people from the martial arts department sucked in a breath of cold air. Who was it that had offended young Master Yi? Who the F***ck was it? Of all people. Why did it have to offend this ancestor? Okay, I'll do it. The one who stood up was Wang Yinan. It sounded serious, but there were so many people in the martial arts department. As the saying went, the law could not punish the majority. Moreover, Yi Wenchen was the mastermind behind the scenes. Even if the sky fell, he would be there to support it. Okay, then I'll wait for your news. After Yi Wenchen left, the martial arts department people gathered together to discuss. It didn't need to be too complicated. They just needed to receive young Master Lin's instructions in the washroom. They just needed to go up and bump into him. Then they would scold him for bumping into him. It was simple and violent. Yi Wenchen returned to his big outdoor venue. Under the warm sunlight and surrounded by lawns, it was indescribably comfortable. There were even people holding microphones and singing pop songs. His eyes naturally fell on Cheng Lingsu. It would have been better if he didn't look. The moment he looked, the fire of jealousy in his eyes rushed to the top of his head. He realized that Cheng Lingsu was secretly looking at Jiang Xiao. However, he had completely misunderstood her. She was thinking of a way to get the contract back. According to Jiang Xiao, it should have been signed. It was just that she wasn't given to him. Okay, we're all done. Everyone, let's have some fun. Instantly, the crowd screamed in response. Cheng Lingsu's personality was relatively quiet. She didn't seem to be used to such occasions. She just smiled symbolically to socialize. Jiang Xiao stood up and walked to the washroom. He didn't need to greet them. No one noticed his presence anyway. Lin Shu was watching from the second floor. When he saw Jiang Xiao come out, he sent a message to the martial arts department. The fish is out. Little Hai straightened his collar. I'm good at scamming people. Let me do it. When he got closer to Jiang Xiao, he felt that the person in front of him looked familiar. Chapter 21. Little Hai did not think too much about it. The person young Master Yi wanted to cripple was most likely a student of No. 2 high school, so it was not strange for him to have seen him before. Seeing him walk towards the washroom, he followed. The others blocked the door of the washroom to prevent Jiang Xiao from escaping. Lin Shu's lips curled into a smile and said to Yi Wenchen, who came to his side, "He's already blocked inside. Do you want to go up and beat him up to vent your anger?" Yi Wenchen had one hand in his pocket, and the other gently pushed up his gold-rimmed glasses. His eyes flashed with disdain. That's something for lowly people to do. Lin Shu, don't forget your status. We're not in the same circle as those lowly people. Lin Shu nodded his head in acknowledgement. Then he would just sit back and watch the show. Little Hai followed Jiang Xiao into the washroom. He quickened his pace and approached Jiang Xiao. However, the figure in front of him became more and more familiar. Moreover, that figure gave him an inexplicable sense of shock. It was just a feeling, but it was very strong and real. Slowly, that figure overlapped with an incomparably valiant figure in the depths of his memory. He originally wanted to run over, But his heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he stopped in his tracks. The person in front of him turned around. When Little Hai saw his face clearly, he was so scared that his soul almost flew out of his body. "It's you." Little Hai's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It was him. It was the person who killed everyone in number 1 high school in an instant. How could it be him? Was he the person young master you wanted to teach a lesson to? At that moment, Little Hai's heart felt as if 10,000 alpacas were running through it. What a joke! No one in the entire number 1 high school's martial arts department, including their head, Situ Sheng, could withstand a single blow from him. If they were not crippled by him, they would be praying for Buddha. Jiang Xiu also recognized him. "It's you. You're here to play too?" Coincidentally, the martial arts department had used this as an excuse to not participate in the Rising Assembly on Monday, because it was unavoidable for them to get injured during the competition. They did not know that the person in front of them was Jiang Xiu, who had been very popular in the school recently. However, even if they did not know each other, the shocking moves that he had made that day were enough to strike fear into their hearts. Little Hai's face was pale and cold sweat dripped down from his forehead. His mouth didn't seem to be his own as he stuttered. I think so." Jiang Xiu smiled faintly. "It was fate that brought us together, so let me give you some pointers. You should be using long fists. Do you feel that you are unable to unleash the power of your fists?" Little C froze for a moment, then nodded. He was 1.8 meters tall, but his fists only weighed 43 kilograms, which was slightly lower than the majority of Sanzhou fighters. This made him very depressed. He always felt that he was unable to unleash his strength. There are 38 mistakes in your long fists. The most fatal one is that you are too tense before your fists hit the target. Before you even hit the target, you have used up more than half of your strength. You have to be careful. Before you punch, you have to maintain a relaxed state. Then suddenly hold your breath and unleash your strength from inside out. "Let's give it a try." Little Hai was skeptical, but he still went into a stance. He raised his arm, aimed it in front of him, and relaxed his whole body. Suddenly he held his breath and threw a punch at the same time. At this moment he felt that the strength in his body had nowhere to be unleashed. All of it flowed along his fist and burst out. With a bang, the sound of his punch could be heard. It felt as if the glass in front of the bathroom, which was 1 or 2 meters away, had been shaken by the force of his punch. Oh my God! Little Hai was dumbfounded. He simply could not believe that he had thrown that punch just now. There was a bang, bang, bang sound coming from the glass as if it was about to crack. Not bad, 152 kilograms. Little Hai looked at his fist, and his eyes suddenly turned red. This problem had troubled him for more than 10 years. He had this problem since he was a child. He had a big body, but he was unable to exert his strength. He did not expect that with a few pointers from Jiang Xiu, this problem would be solved in an instant. The strength of his fist was 3 times stronger than before. The next time he fought with someone from the first middle school, he would be able to completely crush his opponent. No matter what kind of technique they used, he would only need to punch them. This was the crushing of absolute strength. He could even see himself being sent to university. Benefactor. Little Hai bent his knees and knelt down on the spot. Jiang Xiu said, "At this stage, remember this sovereign's words. Boxing is to pump up your spirit. If you want to go further, then your spirit must be in front of your strength." Little Hai exited the bathroom. He was still very excited. Right now, he felt that his whole body was filled with strength. He could not wait for the next competition day to arrive. Your father, will definitely win." And all of this was bestowed upon him by Jiang Xiu. Little Hai faced the bathroom and deeply bowed. It was a 90-degree bow, and for a long time he did not stand up straight. "Little Hai, what's going on?" The people from the martial arts department at the door were very surprised. Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu, who were standing at a high place and planning to enjoy a good show, also frowned. "What's going on?" "He's bowing to the bathroom. Is this kid's brain damaged? He made the bathroom look like a temple." "What's going on inside?" Little Hai still maintained his 90-degree bow. Gu Xian impatiently said, "It's my turn." He could not wait to go inside. There were not many opportunities to show off in front of young Master Yi. In the future, he was counting on this mountain to rely on. A minute later, Gu Xian also came out of the bathroom. His face was full of excitement, and his eyes were red. Just like Little Hai, he bowed 90 degrees in the direction of the bathroom. Stunned. Damn, what the hell are these two doing? Qinyang was puzzled. What was in the bathroom? It was as if they were worshipping a god. Are you two possessed? Or did you take the wrong medicine? He rushed into the bathroom and came out in less than half a minute. After running out, he was even more exaggerated than the two. He directly knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing like a devout believer. This time it really blew up. Everyone was dumbfounded. What kind of shocking secret was hidden in the bathroom? Could it be that a miracle had happened? Immediately after, the people from the martial arts department ran in one after another. Not long after, they came out again. Every one of them seemed to be possessed as they kowtowed to the bathroom group. This really made Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu dumbfounded. Anyone would be dumbfounded. Could there be such a coincidence that there's a young master in the bathroom? Lin Shu used his rich imagination. Other than there being an extremely terrifying person in the bathroom, he really could not think of any other possibility that would make these people kowtow to the bathroom door, as if they had seen a god. Why would a real young master come here to play? Yi Wenchen shook his head. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Could it be Brother Dalei? Brother Dalei was the local tyrant of the new city. His influence was frighteningly strong. This new city's entertainment city was opened by him. He had thousands of brothers who worked under him. When Brother Dalei was mentioned, who would not yearn for him? Moreover, it was rumored that this person was extremely ruthless and had a perverse style. Forcing people to kneel was child's play. If they really met Brother Dalei, they could only blame themselves for being unlucky. He's out. Upon hearing Jiang Xiu's footsteps, the people from the martial arts department were like a god descending to the world. They worshipped him as if he was a god. It's really because of that kid Jiang Xiu. What the hell is going on? The scene in front of them overturned all their previous speculations. It was not because of any young master or Brother Dalei, but because of Jiang Xiu himself. When the people from the martial arts department saw him, it was as if they had seen a god. Are these people from the martial arts department all idiots? Do they have any shame? Where's their integrity? A man's knees were gold. Moreover, they were kneeling to a small fry like Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu walked past them and returned to his own place. Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu angrily went downstairs. Lin Shu said, "What are you doing? I asked you to teach someone a lesson, but you kneeled to him." Wang Yinan said, "I'm sorry, young Master Lin. We can't earn young Master Ye's money. You should find someone else. Brothers, let's go and find a place to test our skills." After that, the group of people turned around and left. Yi Wenchen frowned. Lin Shu wanted to stop them, but when the words reached the tip of his tongue, he could only shut his mouth. The other party had already made it very clear. There was no point in saying anything more. A bunch of trash. Without you, do you think I can't handle Jiang Xiu? Yi Wenchen said, "Young Master Lin, don't you know the people from Brother Dalei's place? It's more convenient for Black to do it. This is his place, so it's only logical." Lin Shu's face was a little reluctant, but he still nodded. With that, the two of them walked into the washroom. The price might be higher than the martial arts department. Money is not a problem. The main thing is to do this for me. Yi Wenchen calculated in his heart. Suddenly, he felt his vision go black. A sack covered his head, and then all kinds of pain came from his head. He didn't know if it was a brick or a cricket bat, but all kinds of things hit his head. Lin Shu, who was on the side, was screaming like a pig being slaughtered. Then their heads were stuffed into the toilet bowl. The unprecedented stench almost made them vomit. They didn't see who did it, but the sack was held tightly. However, there were many people who did it. They punched and kicked. Save me, save me. Chapter 22. The more Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu screamed for help, the harder they beat them. In the end, the two of them only dared to scream and didn't dare to ask for help again. They beat them for half a minute. To Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu, This half a minute was longer than a day. No, it was longer than a year. Not only was it painful, but they also stuffed their heads into the toilet. It was a public toilet. Could they not be so disgusting? In the end, those people scattered like a swarm of bees. They tore off the sack, and the first thing they did was not to check if they were disfigured, but to vomit at the sink. Lin Shu vomited for a while and looked in the mirror. His face was bruised. It was miserable. F***CK, who attacked us? Come out if you have the guts. Yi Wenchen on the side was trembling. He angrily smashed the hand sanitizer and roared like a beast. Young Master Yi didn't care about people. He was always the one who was beaten. We can't just let this matter go. Lin Shu said. Could it be that brat Jiang Xiao? He couldn't think of anyone who would beat them except for Jiang Xiao. Originally, they used this method to deal with Jiang Xiao. It was very likely that he found out and gave them a taste of their own medicine. Yi Wenchen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He was more miserable than Lin Shu. His face was bruised and swollen, but his glasses were broken. He looked particularly miserable. It can't be him. There were many people just now. He was alone. What made them most depressed was that they couldn't install cameras in the washroom. Mother **Ker, don't you know Big Brother Daily Eye? Let him check it out for us. Even if there were no cameras in the washroom, there were so many cameras along the way. They might be able to find some clues. Let's go to the security department. The two young masters had never been bullied like this. It was the first time in their lives that they were beaten up. One could imagine how angry they were. When they arrived at the security department, Lin Shu kicked the door open. The security guards inside were shocked. Was someone who could open an entertainment city easy to mess with? The security guards rushed out, and one of them looked quite strong. F***CK, you guys don't want to live anymore. How dare you come to the entertainment city to cause trouble? Lin Shu said. I was playing in your shop and got beaten up. You have to give me an explanation. The security captain saw that the two young masters' faces were bruised and swollen. They had indeed been beaten up, and they smelled disgusting. Who the F***CK knows who the two of you have offended? Do you still want to blame it on our entertainment city? Yi Wenchen had been suppressing his anger for a long time. When he saw that a security guard dared to talk nonsense to him, he slapped him hard on the face. Don't you F***king recognize me? Ask your manager to come out. The security captain covered his face in confusion. Who the F***CK is so bold to cause trouble in my territory? Following this voice, a middle-aged man, surrounded by a group of young men and bodyguards, strode over with a very thick cigar in his hand. Along the way, all the beauties, waiters, and security guards in the entertainment city couldn't help but lean to the side. They made a living here, so of course they knew how terrifying this man was in Jiang City. Big Thunder, as his name suggested, was involved in both the underworld and the underworld. His body had a strong dark aura. More than 60% of the entertainment industry in Jiangqing City belonged to him. Not to mention the countless shady deals that were even darker. He was the fierce dragon of Jiang City. When they saw Daily Eye, Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu immediately behaved themselves like primary school students meeting a junior high school student. You two brats are very good. You just beat up my men, Daily Eye. He pointed forward with the hand holding the cigar, and two burly men in suits who looked like bodyguards rushed over and pinned the two young masters down. Lin Shu shouted. Do you know who I am? My father is Lin Dongping. Delay asked the person beside him. Who the F***CK is Lin Dongping? The person beside him said softly. The owner of Lin's restaurant. His business is doing well. He's probably worth 20 to 30 million. He's considered a rich man. In 2008, housing prices hadn't skyrocketed yet. 20 to 30 million sounded more frightening than 20 to 30 billion later on. Brother Delay was furious. F***CK, I thought I was some big shot. It's only 20 to 30 million. Is this F***king money? Then there's no F***king poor people in this world. The students in school always looked forward to some of the underworld figures in society and exaggerated them a lot. However, this Big Thunder was not exaggerated at all. His ability on the surface was obvious. Just the entertainment city that had just been set up in Xiancheng had invested no less than 50 million yuan. Who was Lin Shu's father in front of him? Lin Shu said, "Beside me, this is young Master Yi." Another King young master. Brother Delay was helpless and asked, "Who's your father?" Yi Wenchen said proudly, "Yi Weigua." Brother Delay said, "Yi District." At this time, Yi Wenchen's father hadn't become Jiang City's #1 in 7 or 8 years. However, being the head of a district wasn't a small position. However, in Brother Delay's eyes, it was nothing. How he hit you just now hit him back. Pay him back 10 times. The security captain nodded excitedly when he heard this. King hit him. CKU, how dare you touch my people? Yi Wenchen was stunned. It was useless even if he brought up his father. The security captain was humiliated just now. The slap was as heavy as the slap. With a crisp slap, blood spurted out from the corner of his mouth. Yi Wenchen was hit until he saw stars and wailed. Just now he was hit with his head covered. Well, now he was slapped in front of his face. Young Master Yi had never suffered such grievances and such humiliation in his life. When the student union heard that something happened, and that Yi Wenchen was hit, they all rushed over. Zhou Jichao, one of Yi Wenchen's followers, didn't know that the person in front of him was Brother Delay. "Stop. I'm warning you. Don't mess around. We're not that easy to bully." Cheng Lingsu, Ouyangqian Li Dan, and the other girls were also filled with righteous indignation. This was too much. They actually grabbed someone and hit him like this. That's right. How can you hit people like this? Brother Delay ignored them. More than a dozen strong men stood there. The student union didn't dare to save them. They only dared to say a few words until Yi Wenchen was slapped 10 times. "Brother Delay, please spare us. We won't dare to do it again." Yi Wenchen was honest. If he didn't behave, he would be beaten again. "Let them go. Let them go." However, these 3 girls stay. Brother Delay pointed his finger at Cheng Lingsu, Ouyangqian and Li Dan. Ouyangqian and Li Dan were definitely the prettiest girls in the school. Needless to say, Cheng Lingsu was the most beautiful girl in the school. These 3 girls were just too eye-catching. The faces of Yi Wenchen and the others changed drastically. Who was Brother Delay? He was a black-hearted person. In the river town, his deeds were widely spread. If these 3 delicate high school students fell into his hands, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not to mention, Cheng Lingsu and the other girls were the targets of the student union's main male admirers. If Yi Wenchen and the others abandoned these 3 girls and ran away by themselves, how could they raise their heads in the future? They would definitely become a laughing stock. Ouyangqian said angrily, "Why should we stay? We haven't even said that you hit people." Brother Delay laughed when he heard that. However, his brothers and bodyguards beside him didn't laugh. The air was so cold that it made people's hearts tremble. Yi Wenchen and the other boys felt a chill in their hearts. These girls didn't know how scary the man in front of them was, and what kind of existence he was in Rivertown. "Brother Delay, she's just a little girl. She doesn't know anything. I apologize to you on her behalf." Yi Wenchen hurriedly begged for mercy. He knew that the reason Brother Delay let them go today was because of his father. "Scram." Brother Delay's voice suddenly turned cold. "If you don't scram now, get ready to be carried out. How many girls want to be with me? It's their fortune that I took a liking to them." Jiang Xiu, who was leaning against the wall not far away, felt that these words sounded familiar. "Isn't this my gift to the girls? Why did someone snatch the lead? Who is this person that dares to be mentioned in the same breath as me?" In the immortal martial continent, Jiang Xiu's status was even more respected than the emperor. How could a hooligan be mentioned in the same breath as him? Chapter 23. Brother Dalei waved his hand and gestured for the bodyguards beside him to arrest them. Ouyangqian Li Dan and the other girls all had prominent backgrounds. This had caused them to develop an arrogant character. When they saw the valiant bodyguards rushing forward to arrest them, they finally realized what kind of person the person in front of them was. Finally, they were scared and screamed as they retreated. Cheng Lingsu was still relatively calm. She was confident that Dayliai wouldn't dare to touch her. The Chung family's assets were worth 2 to 3 billion yuan. Not to mention Rivertown, it could even be ranked in the province. The amount of taxes they paid in a year was almost equivalent to the annual GDP of an average town. In an era where GDP determined political achievements, the city leaders and even the provincial leaders had to treat the Chung family as a treasure. One could imagine the influence of the Chung family. With such a background, would Dayliai dare to touch Chung Lingsu? She thought that Dayliai wouldn't really dare to touch her. At most, he would disgust her and scare her. Dayliai also had to weigh the pros and cons of offending second Miss Chung, and whether he could bear the wrath of the Chung family. Chung Lingsu planned to stand up and protect her classmates. She said, "I'll stay. You ask all my classmates to leave." Susu. All the students looked over in surprise when they heard this. A strange look flashed in Brother Dayliai's eyes. "Little girl, you have guts. Which family are you from?" Chung Lingsu lifted her chin slightly and said with a bit of unruliness, "Chung clan group. I'm Chung Hanlin's youngest daughter, Chung Lingsu." Everyone around started whispering. Even Dayliai's expression changed. The Chung clan wasn't a small workshop worth tens of millions. They were a real big shot in Rivertown. "You're Chung Hanlin's daughter?" "Yes." Brother Dayliai laughed out loud. Just as he was about to speak, his phone rang. He walked to the side to answer the call. In fact, he took out his phone to make a call. Brother Dayliai could have a place in Rivertown because he wasn't just a brute. Brother Dong. In the military compound, Dong had been guarding Old Master Tang Jindong. At this time, Old Master Tang Jindong's broken arm had been treated by the doctor. It was not life-threatening, but it was inevitable that he would be permanently disabled. When the wound was almost healed, the doctor would give Old Master Tang Jindong a mechanical arm. Nowadays, science was very advanced and could make up for the loss of a limb to a large extent. There were still some disciples of the Tang family in the room. Dong left the room when he felt his phone vibrate. "Hello. If you have something to say it quickly. I still have things to do." Dayliai said. "It's like this. The daughter of the Chung clan group's Chung Hanlin came to the entertainment city to cause trouble and publicly hit my people. I want to ask Brother Dong if this girl can be touched. Those who came out to mingle, especially those who opened such an entertainment city, had to be firm and ruthless when dealing with matters. They had to have a sufficient deterrent effect. If they couldn't even deal with a few students, they wouldn't be able to deter the monsters. Use your brain. You don't need to call to ask for instructions on this kind of matter. If the Chung family dares to trouble you, I'll make the Chung family completely shut down." Dong's face flashed with a hint of sternness. He was very angry that Old Master Tang had a broken arm. Yes. Brother Dayliai hung up the phone excitedly. Then he puffed out a cigar and came back arrogantly. Chung Lingsu said, "Big Brother Dayliai, give my father some face. Let us go." Brother Dayliai spat out a long puff of smoke. Tsk. Chung Hanlin, this bastard, has a good life. He gave birth to a beautiful daughter. However, is that bastard qualified for me to give him face? Who does he think he is? Chung Lingsu's pretty face stiffened. Dayliai kept calling him a bastard. He didn't put Chung Hanlin in his eyes at all, let alone give him face. The blood on her face gradually faded and became frighteningly pale. Now she knew fear. All her confidence came from her family and her family's assets. However, there was always someone better. Perhaps in her eyes, the Chung family was powerful. However, she didn't know that there were many people who were stronger than the Chung family. Just like what Dayliai said, who did the Chung family think they were? Chung Lingsu realized that she had been a frog at the bottom of the well for a while. She was ashamed and resentful. "All the men, get out of here. Leave the three girls." Yi Wenchun, Lin Shu, and the other young masters were grief-stricken. Those who didn't want to leave were carried out. The girls couldn't leave even if they wanted to. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were full of begging. "Brother Dayliai, let us go. Let us go." Although they came from extraordinary backgrounds and had seen much more than ordinary high school students, they were still high school students after all. They had never experienced such a battle. Today's encounter was simply a disaster for them. It was as if they were in the 18th level of hell. "Do it. The girls screamed in fright. The boys wanted to help but couldn't. Just as they were in despair, a hand suddenly reached out and stopped the bodyguards. Everyone looked over in surprise and saw Jiang Xiu standing in front of them. Seeing that another student came out to cause trouble, Brother Daley said, "Damn, which family's young master is this?" His patience was worn out. Little brats came out to cause trouble. What did they take him, Brother Daley, for? His words didn't work. Cats and dogs came out to cause trouble? Jiang Xiu said. I'm not from any family. Brother Daley said. Then who is your father? Even if Yi Wenchen was in dire straits, he didn't want to be associated with Jiang Xiu. He even hated Jiang Xiu. If it weren't for Jiang Xiu, he wouldn't have set up this trap and wouldn't have encountered such a thing. Today's encounter made him feel that he wouldn't be able to raise his head for the rest of his life. He couldn't help but say, his family owns a fruit stall. What? Brother Daley wondered if his ears were damaged. He looked at Jiang Xiu in disbelief. Your family owns a fruit stall? Jiang Xiu said. Yes, my family owns a fruit stall. Ha ha ha. Under Brother Daley's powerful aura, the employees of the entertainment city who didn't dare to make a sound couldn't help but laugh. Damn. You, who owns a fruit stall at home, dare to jump out? Jiang Xiu said indifferently. What? Are you looking down on fruit stalls? Ha ha. Brother Daley used laughter as an answer. Jiang Xiu's eyes slowly turned cold. What, big brother? You dare to say that girls are lucky to be with you? You're just a hooligan. I'm just a fruit stall owner. You might not even be able to afford to offend me. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? While the whole place was silent again, everyone looked at Jiang Xiu as if they were looking at a madman. Damn, he's crazy. Brother Daley, you're saying that? Yes, he's looking for death. A few male students at the class reunion had already cursed Jiang Xiu in their hearts. Damn it, if you want to die, stay away. Don't drag us down. Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu wanted to cry but had no tears. This guy was actually an idiot. His brain must be fried. Did he really think that he was a hero just because he hit a teacher in school and got a medal? You're the one who should take a piss and look at yourself. They were really scared. Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu felt that their legs were trembling. Who was Brother Daley? Just because he hit his security guard, he was already dealt with like this. He was pointed at and scolded. They couldn't imagine what kind of horrible scene it would be when Brother Daley got angry. You're just a fruit stall owner. I, Daley, can't afford to offend you. Ha ha ha. Daley was so angry that he laughed. He pointed his cigar at Jiang Xiu for a while, and the terrible hostility slowly rose. Everyone knew that Brother Daley's anger had been ignited, and he could explode at any time. Kid, I, Daley, will let you know today whether I can afford to offend you, a fruit stall owner. His voice came out from the gaps between his teeth. People who were in the underworld were especially ruthless. Their hearts were especially black. Moreover, they were very prideful and valued their face more than anything else. His eyes stared at Jiang Xiu. His face turned green and white. Cripple him. I'll take responsibility if he dies. It's over. Cheng Lingsu sighed in her heart. It was really over. She still had a card in her hand. Her mother, Sun Xiaohong, had a sister whom she called Auntie. She was married to someone from the military. The military was stationed in Luyang village, 50 kilometers south of Jiangcheng. If Daley really wanted to be rough with her, she would call for help. However, things were completely out of control now. A bodyguard who was nearly 1.9 meters tall rushed out directly. His movements were swift and powerful. His arms were thicker than an ordinary person's thighs and waist. With a whistling wind, he directly smashed towards Jiang Xiu's head. Dodge quickly. That fist felt as big as Jiang Xiu's head. It was like an iron ball. If it hit the head, it would probably smash the head. Jiang Xiu glanced at him. You're just like an ant. Suddenly, Jiang Xiu's figure rushed forward, directly bypassing the heavy punch, and grabbed the bodyguard's neck. The sound of bones cracking could be heard as Jiang Xiu lifted the bodyguard up. Chapter 24. The bodyguard's eyes widened like a wild beast's. He was terrified to the extreme. He was more than 1.9 meters tall, and weighed more than 120 kilograms. His body was as tall and sturdy as a small mountain, so he knew how strong he was. Jiang Xiu, on the other hand, was less than 1.8 meters tall and skinny, but he was able to pick him up as if he was pinching a chicken. This scene was too scary and shocking. What was more frightening was that Jiang Xiu lifted him up by the neck. That was to say, his throat supported his weight of more than 200 kilograms. If his Adam's apple couldn't bear it, his throat would be crushed and he would die. Under Jiang Xiu's ordinary appearance, there was an unbelievable amount of power. You have some skills. No wonder. You're courting death. The other bodyguard's physique was not smaller than this one. He rushed up with a ferocious look on his face. With a terrifying impact, he directly punched out. The power of this punch was much more ferocious than the previous bodyguards. Moreover, it directly hit Jiang Xiu's temple. The temple was one of the death acupuncture points. If it was hit, with just a little bit of strength, it would cause a brain hemorrhage and cause him to die on the spot. Humph! Jiang Xiu snorted coldly. Under everyone's incredulous eyes, the strong man, who was more than 200 kilograms, was thrown like a marionette by Jiang Xiu. With a terrifying force, he fiercely slammed into another bodyguard who was rushing over. With a loud bang, the two of them crashed into each other like two trucks and rushed towards the wall at the far end. With another bang, the wall caved in and the two of them rolled down along the wall. Even if they were made of steel, they couldn't get up. They fell to the ground and wailed in pain. You. Daliai's eyes widened and the muscles at the corner of his mouth twitched. You're good at fighting, aren't you? He, Daliai, had been in the territory of Jiang City for so many years. Unexpectedly, someone dared to step on his face and slap his face. There was only one thought in his mind at this moment, which was to kill him. Attack. Chop him to death. Big Thunder had 7 or 8 bodyguards, and there were no less than 20 underlings who followed him. In addition to the security guards of the entertainment city, they had seen this kind of thing many times. They rushed into the house, grabbed their weapons, steel pipes, machetes, and baseball bats, and rushed forward. Looking at the black mass of people rushing over and shouting that they would kill him, it was just like a movie on TV. However, what was happening in front of his eyes was real. The weapons in their hands were not props. The shiny white steel knives were sharpened. One would be lucky to see red with a single slash. If one was stabbed in a vital spot, he would lose his life immediately. Yi Wenchen, Lin Shu, Cheng Lingsu, and the others were already scared out of their wits. They hid in a corner, trembling. Are you looking down on fruit sellers? Jiang Xiu glanced sideways, and his aura suddenly changed. He moved as fast as a shadow and rushed into the crowd, just like how he had passed through the crowd of people from No. 1 High School's martial arts department. However, this time, the path was a little longer. The entire corridor was filled with people, and it stretched for at least 40 to 50 meters. Kill him. Facing so many people might be a little troublesome before the awakening. However, now that he had entered the first stage of the awakening in spiritual cultivation, his divine power could shake a ton of cars. One could imagine how terrifying the strength of his punches and kicks were. When his punches landed on people's bodies, it was really crisp. Those who came in contact with him would either die or be seriously injured. Bang, bang, bang. One after another, they were defeated. Hundreds of people crowded the 40-meter-long corridor. They saw Jiang Xiu passing through. His figure was blurry and flashing. Everywhere he passed, those who came into contact with him were defeated. None of them could withstand a single blow. Steel pipes bent and fell, machetes were broken, and baseball bats were smashed in the buttocks. He was really brave, like a god descending to the mortal world. When he came to the end of the corridor, there was no one standing behind him. Along the way, there was a mess. People were lying everywhere. Some were hugging their heads, some were hugging their legs. Some were groaning in pain, and some were screaming loudly. It was a very embarrassing scene. Yi Wenchen, Lin Shu, Cheng Lingsu, and the others were completely dumbfounded. Am I dreaming? One person fighting hundreds of people? This he won? Cheng Lingsu felt like she was dreaming. She was extremely shocked because she was familiar with Jiang Xiu. The two of them could be said to be very familiar with each other. She thought that this guy would never be successful in his life, and that he would only be like his parents in the street market and other places. However, he was actually so powerful. Was this person Jiang Xiao? What the hell is going on? Where did he learn all these martial arts? Yi Wenchen and Lin Shu finally understood why the people in the martial arts department respected Jiang Xiao, as if he was a god. If a young master came to the capital, Yi Wenchen would also respect him as if he was a god. You look down on the fruit stall? What about now? Jiang Xiao walked over calmly. Daily I only felt that his mouth was dry. He raised 2 trembling fingers, but the big cigar between his fingers had already fallen to the ground. Gulp. Daily I, Master Lei swallowed hard. There were 10 top-notch bodyguards, more than 20 brothers who hung out with him, and more than 200 security guards in the entertainment city. There were a total of 300 people, but they were all defeated by this kid alone. The aura of a master was obvious. Who are you? Jiang Xiao said. I'm a fruit stall owner. Good martial arts, really good martial arts. You're fast, your punches are fierce, and your strength is sufficient. One person fighting 300 people. Daily I haven't seen someone like you for many years. Daily I slowly calmed down. However, the times have changed. So what if you can fight? Can you outrun bullets? Jiang Xiao smiled faintly. You can try. Daily I suddenly took out a Black Star pistol and pointed the gun at Jiang Xiao's head. CK your mother. Do you think I'm a vegetarian? Jiang Xiao was calm and collected. You have guts. Daily I did not think that Jiang Xiao really dared to fight head-on. He was just holding on. He did not panic even when a gun was pointed at his head. This courage was amazing enough. Kneel down for me. Did you hear that? Do you believe that I'm going to? Before he could say the word you, Daily I felt a sharp pain in his chest with a bang. What followed was a strong impact. He flew out and hit the wine cabinet behind him heavily. With a crackling sound, the entire wine cabinet collapsed and the red wine fell to the ground. Master Lei. In his early years, Daily I was also a fighter. He never dared to slack off. However, in front of Jiang Xiao he had no power to fight back. At that moment, he did not even see how Jiang Xiao made his move. Daily I fell to the ground and twitched. He groaned in pain. The pistol fell less than a meter away from him. He wanted to get the gun, but he could not get up no matter how hard he tried. It turned out that in front of a real powerhouse, you did not even have the chance to shoot. I admit that I was wrong. You are really strong. However, there is always someone better. Don't forget that this is Jiang City. It's my territory. I have plenty of people. If you have the guts, just wait and see. As he spoke, he took out his phone from his clothes with difficulty. Do you dare? Once again, Daily Eye's wisdom was reflected here. If Jiang Xiao did not dare, he would be looking for trouble if he took out his phone. That was why he asked. In his current physical condition, he could not withstand another blow from Jiang Xiao. Jiang Xiao pulled a chair and sat down. He waved his hand and motioned for Daily Eye to go ahead. Then he turned to Cheng Lingsu and the others and said, Hey, why aren't you leaving? Are you planning to stay here? He did not know who Daily Eye would call. It was still very dangerous for these people to stay here. He was only at the first level of awakening. He could not protect them. Cheng Lingsu and the others woke up from their dreams. Yi Wenchen hurriedly said, Quick, let's go. On the other side, Daily Eye had already dialed Brother Dong's number again. Hello. Dong was in a better mood because Elder Tang had woken up. After the doctor gave him a painkiller injection, his complexion looked much better than a few days ago. Therefore, Dong's tone was better than before. What's the matter now? Brother Dong, I'm in trouble. The troublemaker is a martial arts master. He's very strong. Hearing that it was a martial arts master, Dong's interest was piqued. Even Elder Tang Jinshan, who was lying on the hospital bed, was a little interested. Dong asked, What's the background of the other party? What kind of martial arts is he using? Daily Eye was also a martial artist. He had learned martial arts hard in his early years. Although his knowledge of martial arts was not high enough, he still had some experience. However, just now, Jiang Xiao had passed through the 40 to 50 meter long corridor and knocked down 300 people. He could not see through Jiang Xiu's martial arts. Even when he attacked him just now, he judged from the footprints on his chest that he had used his feet and not his hands. I can't see through his martial arts. I just heard from his classmates that he seems to be called Jiang Xiu. What? Jiang Xiu? Adong was shocked. Chapter 25. Jiang Xiu, a name that he was extremely grateful to, extremely resentful to, and extremely afraid of. When Elder Tang, who was leaning on the bed, heard the two words Jiang Xiu, he also sat up straight. It was him. He had appeared again. Even Lin Jinbei, who could chase after Tao soldiers, was scared witless by Jiang Xiu. How could Dalai and his underlings be his opponent? Ridiculous. I'll be right there. After hanging up the phone, Adong looked at Tang Jinshan. He believed that the old man had already heard that Jiang Xiu, who had cut off his arm, had appeared again. Old man, he has appeared. What should we do? Tang Jinshan touched his severed arm and said, when Mr. Jiang severed his arm and left that day, he had already forgotten about his kindness to the Tang family. Of course, I have to forget about the enmity of his severed arm. Adong nodded to show that he understood. But we can't forget that he is a martial arts powerhouse. He is someone that even Lin Jinbei is afraid of. Our Tang family should treat him with respect. Adong, do you understand? Not to mention the past grudges, just based on Jiang Xiu's cultivation, the Tang family had to pay enough attention to him. Adong said, I understand. I will definitely make Mr. Jiang forgive my unreasonable behavior that day. On the other side, Dalai hung up the phone and struggled to get up from the ground. He stumbled and was a little unsteady. He leaned his body against the wall and grinned. Do you think you can fight very well? Ridiculous frog at the bottom of the well. Have you seen a real master? Wait a moment. Your master Lei will help you broaden your horizons. A real martial arts powerhouse is on his way. When he mentioned the person who was coming, Dalai's perverse face no longer had the slightest bit of savagery, let alone the slightest bit of disgust. Instead, there was a deep seriousness on his face. Oh, is that so? Jiang Xiu, on the other hand, was looking forward to seeing what level the martial artists in his hometown could reach. That day, Lin Jinbei had left a deep impression on Jiang Xiu. It was not because of how strong he was, but because he had a bit of the aura of an immortal cultivator. The movement technique that he used could not be considered a spell, but it had the shadow of a spell. Perhaps there was an existence that could threaten his life. Everything was interconnected. If such an existence really existed, Jiang Xiu believed that it would definitely allow him to grow even faster, allowing him to recover to the point where he could extract the resources from the immortal martial continent sooner, rather than wait for his foolish disciple to send him the resources with her disposable flying sword 300 years later. Seeing Jiang Xiu's thoughtful expression, Dalai asked, Why? Are you scared? It's too late. If you offend me, Master Lei, no one can walk out of here alive. Dalai grinned. Even though he was now covered in blood, even his face was covered in blood. He was in a very sorry state, but he still smiled proudly. That was because he knew that victory was in his hands. The final winner would still be him. This was the temperament of a gangster. As long as he did not truly fall, he would never admit defeat. How could the dignified Master Lei lose to someone who had a fruit stall at home? What an international joke. Who will come? Many of the beautiful employees present were very curious, including some of Dalai's subordinates who had fallen to the ground and could not get up. They had long heard that there was someone behind Dalai. Today they finally had the chance to meet him. It could be considered a blessing in disguise. Loud noises came from the entrance of the entertainment city. Dalai's heart skipped a beat. He was here. He saw a middle-aged man in a trench coat walking over. He was short and didn't look special at all. However, this figure was like an invincible god of war in Dalai's heart. He walked through the crowd that was scattered all over the corridor. No matter how much pain they were in, they endured the pain and dragged their bodies to the side to make a flat path for this big shot. When Jiang Xiu saw him, he was slightly stunned. Then he smiled helplessly. The so-called master that Dalai swore was actually Tang Jinshan's driver who locked him in the room and did not let him out. He even said that it was for his safety. This was not a coincidence. This was not. Adong ignored the wounded on the ground. However, there was a trace of terrible anger on his resolute face. Seeing the anger on Master Dong's face, Dali grinned even more happily. Brother Dong was angry. He remembered that the last time Brother Dong was angry was more than 10 years ago. At that time, that person. Let's not talk about it. He now sympathized with Jiang Xiu. Brother Dong. Dali's chi and blood surged up because of his excitement. He opened his mouth and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Jiang Xiu's kick was definitely ruthless. Dali flew out a few meters. How could this injury be light? However, there was a smile at the corner of his mouth even though blood was flowing from his mouth. Adong came all the way to Dali. Brother Dong. Dali shouted again. He reached out and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He said firmly, "It's okay. This little brat can't take my life. I can still hold on." Slap. Adong slapped him hard. Dali's body, which had just stood up, leaned against the wall again. His face was full of shock, and he was completely stunned. Brother Dong. He could not understand why Adong hit him. Shouldn't he teach that brat a lesson? Adong turned around and bent his knees. He did not care about the broken glass on the ground and directly knelt down. He lowered his head and did not say a word. He just knelt with an upright posture and a respectful attitude. Boom. Dali's eyes widened suddenly. He stared so hard that his eyes almost fell out. How? Not only did Master Dong kneel down, but he did not even dare to say a word. Had she reached the point where she had nothing to say? Was she at a point where she had nothing to say? He did not understand, but he felt that it was awesome. Endless fear surged like a tide and drowned Master Lei. Silence. There was a dead silence. Adong was also a man. He knelt there until blood flowed from his knees, but he did not say a word. Unless Jiang Xiu spoke, Adong would not utter a word. Time ticked forward. The atmosphere was so oppressive that it was almost suffocating. 1 minute. A short minute was longer than a year for Dali. His heart was tormented. Who was he? Who was he? Dali was on the verge of breaking down and shouting. 3 minutes. The cold sweat on his forehead kept flowing down. 5 minutes. Dali felt that he was going crazy. He was really going crazy. Every minute that Adong knelt for, the fear in his heart increased. His heart was cold, and his limbs were cold. The fear accumulated until it finally exploded. Dali's vision turned black, and he fell to the ground. Well, he asked someone to deal with Jiang Xiu, but Jiang Xiu did not do it. Instead, he fainted from fear. Adong still did not speak. It seemed that Dali's life was not as important as his kneeling. 7 minutes. 8 minutes. Jiang Xiu got up and left. He did not say a word either. After Jiang Xiu left, Adong closed his eyes and stood up after a while. He reached out and patted Dali awake. The first thing Dali did when he woke up was to look for Jiang Xiu. However, the chair was empty. Jiang Xiu was nowhere to be found. Master Dong. Adong sneered. You have guts. How dare you touch the old master's friend? You and your brothers are not enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Dali was shocked. What? He's the old master's friend? With the esteemed status of the old master, why would he lower himself to befriend a kid like Jiang Xiu who ran a fruit stall? At most, Jiang Xiu was just good at fighting. There were many people like him in the military. Adong thought. If you knew that he cut off the old master's arm, how would you feel? The old master ordered me to come here today. And what I did was also ordered by the old master. Thinking of Adong's kneeling appearance, Dali felt a chill rush from his spine to the top of his head. Cold sweat flowed down again. Jiang Xiu was someone who could make the old master speak. He realized that he had almost caused a disaster today. Who is he? Adong shook his head and said, It doesn't matter who he is. What matters is what kind of person he can become. The old master said that his future is limitless. He might even become a Dao soldier. Dao soldier? Adong said. There are 3 major realms of a martial artist. They are external strength, internal strength, and the transformative state. If there is a breakthrough above these, it would be the Dao soldier. The Dao soldier is illusory. Whether it really exists or not, I only heard rumors. That is the true power that surpasses many forces. Forget it. You won't understand even if I tell you. After the group of classmates escaped from the entertainment city, it was as if it was hell. They got into the car and stepped on the gas. Yi Wenchun and the others were seriously injured and went directly to the hospital. Although Cheng Lingsu and the other girls were not injured, they were frightened. They found a very formal restaurant to sit down and hugged each other to warm up. I was scared to death. Li Dan patted her chest. I will never go to that kind of place again. I was really scared just now. But now that I think about it, it is quite exciting. Ouyang Qian said as she sucked on her fingers. By the way, will he be okay? Li Dan was, of course, asking about Jiang Xiao. Don't worry. He can fight so well. He can fight hundreds of people alone. Even if Brother Daily I can't beat him, he won't run away. Ouyang Qian said casually, however, we have to thank him properly. Don't you think so, Susu? Yes. Cheng Lingsu was a little dazed. When did he learn martial arts? Susu, what is in your pocket that is hard and poking at me? Nothing. Cheng Lingsu felt strange. She reached into her pocket and took out a piece of paper. When she opened it, she lost her voice. It was the contract that she asked Jiang Xiao to sign. When did it run into her pocket? At the bottom of the paper, the two words Jiang Xiao were written in flamboyant calligraphy. He signed it. Cheng Lingsu lost her composure and stood up from her seat. Chapter 26. This was really unexpected. The contract that she had been waiting for had finally arrived. When she got her hands on it, she was naturally very happy in her heart. But slowly, she was unable to feel happy anymore. What was the meaning of this? After saving them, he would sign this contract to cancel the engagement. Cheng Lingsu felt that Jiang Xiao was fighting back against her. It wasn't that she looked down on Jiang Xiao and wanted to cancel the engagement. Instead, it was more like she was the one who was being divorced. She couldn't describe what she was feeling in her heart. Susu, what are you holding in your hand? Ouyang Qian asked curiously. No, nothing. Cheng Lingsu was shocked and hurriedly put away the contract. If they were to see this, wouldn't it be terrible? Wouldn't her relationship with Jiang Xiao be exposed? How about we give him a call and ask him how he is now? Jiang Xiao had saved them, and the girls were still very grateful. Cheng Lingsu pretended to check the alumni list, then gave Jiang Xiao a call. Hello, is this student Jiang Xiao? How are you all right? Jiang Xiao said. This sovereign is naturally fine. Hearing Jiang Xiao call himself this sovereign, and that he was fine, Ouyang Qian and Li Dan thought that Jiang Xiao was joking. Their mood also became better, and they giggled. This Jiang Xiao is quite humorous. Only Cheng Lingsu rolled her eyes. She knew that Jiang Xiao had always been like this, with a high and mighty appearance. She didn't know where he got his confidence from. Xiao Qian and Dan Dan are both here. We want to treat you to a meal to express our gratitude. Jiang Xiao said faintly. This sovereign saved you guys because I feel that you guys are pitiful. Not because I want you guys to thank me. This sovereign will also give some food to the pitiful cats and dogs on the roadside. You. Cheng Lingsu was very angry. She sincerely wanted to treat him to a meal, but he actually had this kind of attitude. She still wanted to say something, but Jiang Xiao had already hung up the phone. Cheng Lingsu said stubbornly, What's so great about that? What are you so arrogant for? You can only fight a little. You just happened to help me out once, and you're still so arrogant. Ouyang Qian said, That's right. If you don't want to come, then so be it. Li Dan chimed in. We will also send out invitations to express our gratitude. Jiang Xiao's arrogant attitude made the two women very uncomfortable. He actually treated them like cats and dogs on the roadside. Holding back their anger was a great respect to his spiritual cultivation. Cheng Lingsu said, After all, he is from a different world from us. We won't have any interactions in the future. The two women nodded. They were very clear about this point. Cheng Lingsu's words seemed to be meant for the two girls, but more so for herself. It didn't matter how the engagement was annulled. What was important was that the engagement was really annulled. She, Cheng Lingsu, would be free from then on. In the future, she could be friends with whoever she wanted and marry whoever she wanted. Not long after Jiang Xiu hung up the phone, another call came in. He glanced at the caller ID and saw the caller ID Mom. Mom. Hello, minor repairs? Why haven't you come back to school recently? Do you have enough money with you? The family business has been good recently. Come back to get the money. You have to pay attention to your health in the 3rd year of high school. A voice that he hadn't heard for more than 3,000 years rang in his ears. Jiang Xiu felt as if a warm current flowed through his heart. The corners of his eyes were already wet unconsciously. Yes. Jiang Xiu's throat was a little sore. Mom. Are you and Dad in good health? Jiang Xiu's parents' voices and smiling faces appeared in his mind, but what left a deeper impression on him was the night of thunder and rain. His father committed suicide, and his mother died with him. 2 cold bodies fell on the ground, forever separated. At that moment, Jiang Xiu was completely torn apart by pain. The Jiang family was buried in sorrow. Mother Jiang was stunned for a while before saying, Dad and Mom are very good. She felt strange. Since when did her son become so sensible? You don't have to worry about the family. You just have to study well. Mom knows that it's hard for you to study, but everyone is the same. Only by entering a good university can you change your fate. Do you understand? Knowledge can change one's fate? Jiang Xiu found it funny. He was a proud and arrogant spiritual cultivation. He didn't even care about the earth. Why would he need a good university to change his fate? In his previous life, your son was incompetent and caused you to suffer all kinds of hardships. In this life, I will bestow upon you unlimited glory. I will let those who look down on you completely shut their mouths. I want you to be the most honorable woman in the world. Mother Jiang was stunned again. She felt sour in her heart. Son, you have really grown up. Mom is so happy that you have such a heart. But we have to be down to earth. You should study hard and get into a good university first. Mother Jiang didn't take it seriously. She only thought that it was a child's wish. Oh, I know. Mother Jiang said. Oh, right. How are you getting along with Susu? Brat, learn to be smart. That's your future wife. Look at how outstanding Susu is. You also need to work hard. Mother Jiang warned him word by word. Don't worry, I will definitely get into a good university. You and Dad take care of your health. You still don't know, I have already signed the annulment agreement with her. In his previous life, his obsession and extravagant desire for this short marriage led to a tragedy. Now this evil cause has been strangled in the cradle. That tragedy will definitely not happen again. Mother Jiang said. All right, if you are too lazy to come back, Mom will transfer 200 yuan to your card. You can go to the bank and withdraw it yourself. Okay. Other people spend 200 yuan a day, but Jiang Xiu spends 200 yuan a month. This is the difference between them. However, Jiang Xiu's parents had already done their best. After Father Jiang's accident, in order to save him, Mother Jiang used up everything in the family. In the end, Jiang Xiu's family was penniless. To be able to survive until today, Jiang Xiu had a house to live in and a fruit stall was all because of the savings. Thus, Jiang Xiu didn't have any complaints in his heart. Parents didn't have it easy. However, there was one thing that Jiang Xiu only found out after his parents passed away. His parents were actually from a prestigious family. This sounded very absurd. Even Jiang Xiu at that time also felt that it was very absurd. If his parents were from a prestigious family, how could they fall to the point of opening a fruit stall? And the truth was indeed so. The two of them were from a wealthy family in the imperial capital. When Father Jiang was young, he was able to tell that Jiang Xiu's family was very wealthy. However, Father Jiang and Mother Jiang's families were sworn enemies. The two of them didn't oppose in the Gu family and forcefully got together. In the end, both of them were chased out of the family. As a result, Jiang Xiu had never seen his grandparents, maternal grandparents, aunts, uncles, 7th aunt, 8th aunt, and so on. He had never seen any of them. He only remembered that when he was 5 years old, his father was about to go to prison. His mother spent all her money but still couldn't save him. His mother took him to the capital in the middle of the night. It was raining heavily that day. His mother and his clothes were all wet. They pulled their luggage and knelt in front of an antique courtyard. They knelt for a long time. Jiang Xiu seemed to have asked his mother why she was kneeling. She said that she was saving his father. Jiang Xiu was very young at that time. He didn't even know if that door was his grandfather's house or his maternal grandfather's house. He remembered that there was a tree in front of the door, a big locust tree. He only stared at that door. In his heart, he desperately hoped that the tightly shut door would open. However, that door probably didn't open in the end. If it had opened, Father Jiang wouldn't have gone to prison. That wasn't the main point. The main point was that other than Cheng Lingsu, Jiang Xiu had 2 other fiancés. In other words, Jiang Xiu, a poor loser, had 3 fiancés. Not only that, but all 3 of them were daughters of wealthy families. At that time, after Jiang Xiu was born, Father Jiang's family wanted to take him away. They even arranged a marriage for him. The family's intention was that Jiang Yi was no longer a member of the Jiang family. However, they still wanted this grandson. The descendants of big families were all political resources. Marriage alliances and the like could fly. However, Lin Yueling's maternal family, the Jiang family, didn't agree. Jiang Yi was their grandson. Why should the Jiang family have the final say? Therefore, they also arranged a marriage. Moreover, the marriage partner couldn't be worse than the Jiang families. Both sides started to fight again. Since Jiang Yi and Lin Yueling had left home to start their own family, how could they be willing to be manipulated by them? Moreover, Jiang Xiu was their only son. Naturally, they didn't want their son to be sacrificed. Therefore, they wanted to fight for sovereignty. Therefore, at that time, the rich and overbearing Father Jiang threw 10,000 yuan at the Cheng family and arranged this marriage with Cheng Lingsu's father. That was how Jiang Xiu, a loser, had 3 fiancés. However, Jiang Xiu's parents insisted. In the end, Jiang Xiu stayed by their side. As a result, Jiang Xiu didn't know that he had 2 other fiancés until his parents passed away, and he entered the capital. Chapter 27. Spiritual cultivation. Had never had to worry about money in the 3,000 years it had been in the immortal Martial continent. Looking at the 200,000 displayed on the ATM, there wasn't even a single cent left. He couldn't help but frown. However, if spiritual cultivation wanted to earn money, it had to be money from the world. At the intersection, a Ferrari with a Jing plate sped past. Its speed couldn't even be described as fast as lightning. The roar of the engine resounded through the entire street, attracting the attention of countless people. At the same time, it also caused people to tremble in fear. Whoosh! About 10 meters away from the road, when the Ferrari sped past, the skirt of a white-collared lady was blown up, revealing her private parts. Her face instantly turned pale, and the hair of her colleague beside her was blown to the side. Is it a biker gang? Jiang Xiu looked up and laughed in his heart. A biker gang could afford a Ferrari? It must be some rich second generation. His eyes narrowed. It seemed that the driver was a woman, and she seemed to be on the phone. Yes, I'm already in Rivertown. I want to see what he looks like. I'm not angry, nor am I unwilling. I'm really not. She stepped on the accelerator like a madwoman. At this moment, Nangong Co-Air wanted nothing more than to use her car to crush the entire Rivertown. She wanted her fiancé, whom she had never met, dead. Laughable, too laughable. What era was it now? There was still such a thing as child marriage. What was even more laughable was that this guy actually had 3 fiancés. However, she couldn't object, and was even more powerless to resist. Whoosh whoosh. The Ferrari was like an enraged beast, venting its shocking speed without restraint, torturing this foreign city. Damn, this is revenge on society. Does he want to die? At the intersection far away from the Ferrari, the police officer in the car cursed, F***CK, I'm going to arrest this bastard today. F***CK, if you don't want to live, don't come out and harm others. He shouted at the police officer beside him. Let that bastard see your gun. Yes. The policeman in the front passenger seat was a little tender. He pulled out his gun nervously and stretched out his arm. The gangster would be scared when he saw a gun. However, the Ferrari driver didn't notice him at all. He shouted nervously, Stop the car, stop the car. The old policeman was furious and yelled at him. Can't you F***king say you're a policeman? The pink police officer shouted. I'm a F***king police officer. Swoosh. The Ferrari drove past them mercilessly. Captain, what do we do? Chase after him. The two policemen hurriedly got into the car to chase after her, but the door was pulled open by a boy. It was Jiang Xiao. He didn't want to get involved, but the spiritual cultivation was short of money. He smiled and said, Hey officers, I'll help you stop the car. How about you give me 200 yuan? When he said this, spiritual cultivation felt deeply ashamed. Once upon a time, spiritual cultivation made many singers popular on the immortal Marshall Road and the Tianqin River. They didn't even dare to count how much money they spent. Now for 200 yuan, they didn't even care about integrity. Of the two old policemen, one looked to be in his 40s, the other was a fresh college graduate. The old policeman said, Do you have any ideas? Jiang Xiao said, Of course. What idea? Jiang Xiao stretched out his hand. Give me the money first. The young college student said, You wish. What if you take the money and run away? This young police officer was quite smart, but he was obviously a raw melon egg. Jiang Xiao said, It's up to you to believe it or not. If something really happens or someone gets hurt, it's none of my business. The old policeman thought for a moment and said, Give it to him. Even if he wanted to cheat, he wouldn't dare to cheat the police. If he really wanted to cheat, he wouldn't just ask for 200 yuan. Moreover, this was a risk. The young policeman was somewhat unwilling, but he didn't dare to disobey the old policeman. He could only take out 200 yuan and give it to Jiang Xiao. Jiang Xiao took the money and smiled. Suddenly, he turned around and ran. F***ck. The young policeman cursed angrily. He jumped out of the police car and chased after Jiang Xiao. Kid, you've got guts. How dare you cheat your police grandpa out of money? Shaolin. The old policeman had to jump out and chase after him. Jiang Xiao ran into the alley, but when the old policeman and the young policeman chased after him, Jiang Xiao had already disappeared. The alley was a straight road, so the two of them chased after him. As soon as they chased out of the alley, they heard the roar of a Ferrari approaching. It turned out that the alley was a shortcut, and Jiang Xiao was standing in the middle of the road. Kid, do you want to die? Get out of the way. The old policeman shouted in shock. Beep beep beep. Nangong Coair was frantically honking the horn. The Ferrari was too fast, and the steering wheel was so heavy that he couldn't even turn it. If Jiang Xiao didn't get out of the way, the only result would be to crash into the Ferrari. Get out of the way. The old and young policemen were completely stunned. Was it so hard to earn money nowadays? For 200 yuan, he was willing to give up his life. Ah. Nangong Coair frantically stepped on the brakes, but the car was too fast. It was almost 180 kilometers per hour. It was too late to step on the brakes when it was less than 10 meters away. He was going to die. Jiang Xiao smiled faintly. He flipped his fingers and a piece of talisman paper appeared. It wasn't right to call it a talisman paper, because it was a RMB. Jiang Xiao chanted something on the talisman paper. If there was a cultivator here, they would see runes appear on the RMB, as if someone was drawing talismans on it. After he finished chanting, Jiang Xiao flicked his finger, and the talisman paper flew out. Deceleration talisman. Up until now, Jiang Xiao was still at the first level of awakening. As for the divine tattoo, it only appeared on his left arm. Even if it appeared, it looked like an inconspicuous tattoo. When a god cultivator awakened, divine tattoo would appear on their body. The more divine tattoo there were, the stronger they would be. Today's spiritual cultivation could only rely on divine power to cast the most basic talismans. But it was enough to shock the world. Boom. A violent and unparalleled magical power was cast from the talisman paper. This was a powerful spell that humans couldn't even imagine. It swept across the Ferrari like a hurricane. The Ferrari was going at 180 kilometers per hour. One could imagine how strong the impact was. However, as if it was hit by a violent storm, it suddenly slowed down and was forced to a stop. The tires screeched as they rubbed against the ground. At this point, Even if the Ferrari was going at full speed, it wouldn't be able to move forward even an inch. The RMB landed on the front of the car, and the light from the ruins slowly dimmed after reaching its peak. Everything quieted down. Inside the car, Nangong Ko-air was slumped over the steering wheel, her mind completely blank. After a long while, she slowly raised her head. That peerless face of hers that could topple cities and topple nations was completely drained of blood. Her crystal-like eyes were unfocused. She was truly frightened out of her wits. She mustered up her courage and wanted to see what happened to the person she hit. She knew that at that speed, the chances of survival were slim, but she still held on to a glimmer of hope. But when she looked up, she saw that the person who didn't know if he was dead or alive was still standing there. However, his face was cold and covered with a layer of frost. Phew, he's fine. Nangong Ko-air let out a long sigh of relief. She really thought she had killed someone, but then the anger in her heart surged. She angrily pushed open the car door and ran out like a tigress. You lunatic, if you want to die, go away. Don't come out and hurt people. The coldness in Jiang Xiu's eyes became even more intense. If he hadn't stopped her, who knew what kind of goods she would have barged into? She even dared to complain first. But this time, he was just trying to take the world's wealth. He reached out and tore the RMB back from the front of the Ferrari. The two officers are done. I'll leave the rest to you. The old and young officers seemed to have woken up from a dream. They hurriedly ran over. Jiang Xiu turned around and was about to leave. Nangong Ko-air had nowhere to vent her anger. Kid, you want to leave? Stop right there. The old officer said. Miss, you can't exceed the speed limit by 60 kilometers per hour in the city. You are almost going 200 kilometers per hour. Do you know that this is very dangerous? If it wasn't for this young man's help, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Come with me to the police station. Nangong Ko-air said. You dare to arrest me? Even Yin Tianxiong doesn't dare to arrest me. Just try and touch me. The old and young officers were stunned. Yin Tianxiong was the boss of Jiangnan's public security department. Detain him. Nangong Ko-air pointed at Jiang Xiu and said in a commanding tone. Chapter 28. Both the old and young policemen were stunned by her arrogance. Which family's young miss was this? Why did she order the policemen around as if they were her family's servants? Was the police station owned by her family? Why did she have to arrest anyone she wanted? Jiang Xiu frowned. Did you get kicked in the head by a donkey? If I hadn't stopped the car, you would have lost control sooner or later and rushed to the side of the road. Not only would you have killed someone, but you would also have lost your life. To be honest, I'm your savior. Nangong Ko-air gnashed her teeth as she looked at him. She didn't look like she was looking at a savior, but rather like he was her mortal enemy. You rushed to the middle of the road to stop the car. If I hadn't reacted quickly and stepped on the brakes in time, you would have been sent flying and killed. Speaking of which, I am your savior. Miss Ko-air's face didn't turn red as she said this. She didn't remember that she had been scared silly just now. Jiang Xiu smiled coldly. Did you think that you were the one who stopped the car? Ignorant, stupid. Who? Who are you calling ignorant and stupid? Nangong Ko-air was so angry that her pale face became red. Someone actually dared to call her ignorant and stupid? However, her pink face was as beautiful as a blooming summer flower. Jiang Xiu felt that her face was somewhat familiar. You two. Now nothing has happened. Everyone is fine. Let's forget about this matter. Everyone, follow me back to the police station and make a statement. This matter will be considered closed. The old policeman was going to punish Nangong Ko-air severely. He wanted to lock her up for at least half a day and a night to educate her. However, she called the big boss of the provincial police station directly. Her tone was so arrogant that it could scare someone to death. Why should I? Jiang Xiu and Nangong Ko-air said at the same time. Heh, you two have quite a tacit understanding. Is it enough just because I am a policeman? Nangong Ko-air snorted coldly. Then, a smile appeared on her face as she said arrogantly. Do you know who I am? How dare you arrest me? Can you afford it? The old policeman asked. You still haven't asked? Nangong Ko stuck out her voluptuous chest and said, Stand properly, don't be scared. Her surname is Nangong, and her maiden name is Ko Nangong Ko. The old police officer didn't know who Nangong Ko was, and he didn't look surprised at all, nor did he tremble in fear. Nangong Ko was quite disappointed, as she had forgotten that these two weren't police officers from the imperial capital. In the imperial capital, even the director of the imperial capital would be so scared that he would fall off his chair when he heard the name of Miss Nangong. Nangong Ko? Jiang Xiu looked over, and his eyes were filled with shock. It was her, Nangong Ko. No wonder she looked so familiar. She was one of his 3 fiancés. Why would they meet here? In Jiang Xiu's previous life, when he met her, it was almost 10 years later. At that time, Nangong Ko was already a mature woman, and she wasn't as unruly as she was now. Instead, she was a gentle and considerate lady. Jiang Xiu remembered that according to their conversation in the future, Nangong Ko did come to Jiang City to visit him, but Jiang Xiu didn't want to see her at that time. Judging from the time, it should be today. However, in this life, Jiang Xiu's life had changed, and he met her on the street. In his previous life, they had only met briefly, and they had signed a contract to cancel their engagement, and then they had gone their separate ways. In this life, Jiang Xiu didn't have any reason to be entangled with her. It was over. And where is he? Xiushan had already slipped away without leaving a trace. Nangong Ko was furious. Bastard, I told you to catch him, but you didn't. Now he has escaped. The old and young policemen were scolded by her, as if they were her subordinates. What's your police number? I will definitely report you to Yan Tianxiong, and you will be fired. The old and young policemen were confused. They didn't forget that they were going to teach Nangong Ko a lesson. They watched as she swaggered open the door of the Ferrari and got in. They started the car, then rolled down the window and asked, How do I get to Jiang City's second high school? The old and young policeman mechanically pointed in the direction of second high school. Vroom, vroom. The Ferrari roared as it drove away, but this time, its speed was reduced to a normal driving speed. The old and young policeman watched as the Ferrari drove away. Captain, who is this young lady? Why is she so awesome? She won't really report us, right? The old policeman said. She just glanced at our police number before she left, and I don't think she remembers it. After he finished speaking, he walked to the middle of the road. Because the Ferrari had braked suddenly, the tires had drawn a 5-meter-long tire mark. The tire mark was very deep, but it suddenly disappeared. According to his many years of experience as a criminal investigator, the tire mark should have gradually weakened, and this sudden stop was more like it had hit a hard object and was forced to stop. Strange, the old policeman said. Who is that brat? Did you notice what he was doing when he was standing in the middle of the road? The young policeman said. It seemed like he was holding a RMB note between his fingers and chanting an incantation. Chanting an incantation? The old policeman muttered. Is that brat a magician? Aren't all magicians deceiving people? Easily getting 200 yuan, Jiang Xiu went to the convenience store and bought a bottle of Coke, which was free of charge. Then he drank it while walking to the school. The roar of the Ferrari once again resounded in his ears. With a whoosh, the car passed by him and drove directly into the campus. Nangong Ko saw Jiang Xiu as soon as she got out of the car, and her beautiful eyes widened in surprise. Why is it you again? Ha ha ha. Jiang Xiu laughed lightly, as if he was looking at air, and completely treated her as if she was transparent. Bastard. Nangong Ko was furious. Stop right there. If I were to stop just because you told me to, where would I put my face? Jiang Xiu gave Miss Ko a magnificent view of his back, and strode towards the school. You don't want to stop? I already know that you are studying in this school. If you don't stop, I will call the police and ask them to arrest you. Nangong Ko swung her car keys with her slender fingers, as if she had already won. What's the matter? Just as she expected, Jiang Xiu stopped in his tracks. Are you also in the 3rd year of high school? Jiang Xiu ignored her question. That's right. Then, do you know a person called Jiang Xiu? Sure enough, Jiang Xiu's guess was correct, and Nangong Ko came here to look for him. However, she probably looked at him from afar, and then left. Yes, I know him, Nangong Ko said. Then take me there, but don't let him find out. Ha ha ha. Jiang Xiu had already made up his mind. This girl was so annoying, and he wanted to disgust her as well. Do you think I am so easy to bully? Thereupon, the two of them walked towards the school. The sun on Sunday afternoon was very bright, and it was very comfortable. The branches on both sides of the road were rustling in the wind, and students were running around everywhere. Some of the students were in love, and they were walking side by side. Occasionally, they would touch each other's fingers, which was very inappropriate. The girls lowered their heads shyly. Nangong Ko suddenly realized that she and Jiang Xiu were walking together like a couple passing by each other, and she couldn't help but blush. Your school's environment is quite good. Nangong Ko finally started to speak human language. So everything that Miss Ko said before was true? Jiang Xiu is over there. Jiang Xiu shamelessly pointed to a fat man who weighed more than 200 kilograms. He had a big mole on his face. He grinned, revealing a mouthful of black teeth. She wondered if there were worms in his mouth. This student's name was Yu Daguang, and he was the young master of the Daguang Corporation. According to Jiang Xiu's experience, Nangong Ko definitely wouldn't confirm Yu Daguang's identity. Jiang Xiu noticed that a trace of heart-wrenching despair flashed through Nangong Ko's eyes, and her beautiful face gradually became pale. She clenched her fists tightly and trembled slightly. Her last hope had been shattered. She had hoped that Jiang Xiu would be like her Prince Charming, but reality had ruthlessly shattered her beautiful dream. He is Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu didn't even blink. Yes, he is Jiang Xiu. Nangong Ko said, You aren't lying to me, right? Why would I lie to you? Jiang Xiu made a very surprised expression and said, What, so you don't know him? Then why did you come to look for him? Nangong Ko's eyes became absent-minded, as if she had lost her soul. She bitterly laughed at herself. I should have known. She, Nangong Ko, was a peerless beauty, but unexpectedly, she was going to marry such a man. She felt sad for her fate. When she thought of her grievances, her eyes couldn't help but redden, and she almost shed tears. Why are you crying? Don't cry. If others don't know, they might think that I did something to you. You wish. Nangong Ko stubbornly wiped away the tears at the corners of her eyes. She didn't want to be weak in front of anyone. I was careless, and some sand got into my eyes. I am, can't you speak properly? Could it be that you are a mage? Jiang Xiu couldn't bear to see her like this. Yes, I also know how to read people's faces. Nangong Ko, right? You have a rich life, so you don't need to worry about it. Nangong Ko said, TSK, you can tell just by looking at me. I even drive a Ferrari. Jiang Xiu said, Then let's talk about your marriage. You were engaged when you were young, and your husband's surname was Jiang. This time Nangong Ko was shocked, and her beautiful eyes widened. She thought to herself, This is too amazing. However, in the end you didn't complete this marriage, and instead, you married a financial genius that you admired. Nangong Ko said excitedly, Really? My calculations are flawless. Since he was able to calculate that she was engaged, he must be very accurate. Nangong Ko, who had a sad expression before, was now as happy as a little bird. I didn't know that you were a mage. Oh, right, strange things are happening at my uncle's construction site. Since you are a mage, you should go and take a look. You should be able to earn a small sum of money. Nangong Ko's eyes were very sharp, and she could tell from Jiang Xiu's clothes that he was someone who lacked money. Chapter 29. Jiang Xiu said, If it's the demolition of a building, then many things might be involved, such as the 5 immortals, ghosts, and even some underground things that shouldn't be touched. Nangong Ko smiled. You're really an expert. Jiang Xiu said proudly, It's not difficult to deal with evil things on earth. Nangong Ko said, Let's go. Jiang Xiu said, Where are we going? Nangong Ko said, Of course we're going to see the site. Then she took out her phone and called her uncle. Uncle, this is Ko. Or where is your construction site in Jiang City? Oh, are you at the construction site now? My aunt is also there. Okay, we'll come over right away. After hanging up the phone, Nangang Ko took Jiang Xiu to her Ferrari. Jiang Xiu said, "What's your uncle's real estate company?" The real estate industry was booming now, and it could be said that it was profitable with a small capital. Anyone with a little capital or connections would enter this industry, and real estate companies were popping up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. Nangang Ko said, "Wanji Real Estate." Jiang Xiu was surprised. Wanji wasn't very famous now, but in 10 years, almost everyone would know about it. It was one of the top 10 real estate companies in Hua Nation. It turned out that the boss of Wanji was Nangang Ko's uncle. No wonder Wanji didn't want to develop with such a powerful political background and the most profitable industry. However, Wanji was just starting out. In order to avoid risks, they chose Jiang City instead of a first-tier city like Shanghai. Even so, a real estate project would cost at least a few hundred million yuan. Nangang Ko's uncle Qin Weiping was very proud and arrogant. He thought that he had started late, so he wanted to catch up, so he spent a lot of money. He almost used all of his capital in this project, and even took a loan of more than 300 million yuan from the bank. However, he didn't expect that there would be problems. During the demolition, there was an old temple in the area, and the local elders persuaded him not to demolish it. However, Qin Weiping, who had no taboos and was eager to make money, laughed it off and ordered people to demolish it directly. Accidents occurred one after another during construction. When the first incident occurred, they did not think much of it. However, the second and third incidents occurred one after another. More and more strange things happened. Many workers fainted innocently while working. Some people even shouted that they had seen ghosts. Then, someone said that there was an immortal in the old temple. They offended the immortal and caused a lot of anxiety. No workers were willing to work. In the end, the project had to be suspended. Looking at the time passing day by day, the bank loan cost 3 million a day. In 3 to 5 days, it would cost tens of millions. No one could afford such a price. Qin Weiping compromised and agreed to hire a sorcerer. However, after the sorcerer came over and did a few rounds, there was no improvement at all. As long as the workers entered the construction site to work, there would definitely be problems. The problem is very serious. Master Cheng's expression was extremely grave. As a famous mage in Jiangnan, he was well aware of the troubles that came with real estate development. He had solved many of them, but he had never encountered anything as strange as this. The demolition of places with temples had to be done before the demolition. It would be too late to make up for the problems after the demolition. The Ferrari stopped outside the construction site. Nangang Ko and Jiang Xiu got out of the car. Looking around, they found that the construction site was surrounded by many people. Most of them were the higher-ups of Wanji Group. There were also some sorcerers. These sorcerers were not ordinary people. Qin Weiping had spent a lot of effort to invite them from the provincial capital. "Aunt, uncle, I invited a sorcerer here." Nangang Ko walked over. A middle-aged couple was standing in the middle of the crowd. They were listening to Master Cheng's opinion. When the beautiful woman turned around and saw Nangang Ko, she frowned and said, "The construction site is so messy. Why did a young lady like you come here? Go back." Nangang Ko was quite confident in Jiang Xiu. Since he was able to predict her marriage when she was young, he must be very capable. She said with a smile, "I heard from my aunt that many sorcerers couldn't do it. So I invited a sorcerer here." This woman was about 40 years old. She had a graceful and elegant appearance. Her face was somewhat similar to Nangang Ko's, but she could not be compared to Nangang Ko. However, she could still be considered a beauty. This was Nangang Ko's aunt Nangang Qin. When she heard that Nangang Ko had invited a sorcerer, her anger subsided a bit. After all, it was her niece's good intentions. It was also good to have a sorcerer to give her advice. However, when Nangang Ko brought the sorcerer in front of Nangang Qin, she was completely disappointed. How could a 17 or 18-year-old boy, who looked like a student, be a sorcerer? "That's right, what's your name?" Jiang Xiu said, "Jiang Luoxia." In the past, when Master bestowed the celestial title, 9 mysteries cleansed the heavens. It was too long, so he only used the first 2 words. Oh, that's right, this is the sorcerer who fell behind. Nangong Koer said. And he's really amazing. He can predict everything. His magic power is boundless. Emph. Qin Weiping's uncle, Qin Weiping, let out a deep sigh. He was a little angry. He was under a lot of pressure, so he didn't dare to get angry at Miss Nangong. This miss was even harder to deal with than his wife. But you found someone, and you don't even know his name. How can I believe you? How could he believe that a sorcerer could exorcise evil spirits? As a high-level intellectual, he should not have believed in sorcerers. However, he had no choice but to accept the sorcerer's method. Now they all thought that he was a rich guy and wanted to earn some money. This time it was even more ridiculous. A 17 or 18-year-old boy was pretending to be a sorcerer. How could a real sorcerer be like the one beside him? He was not only well-versed in the 8 trigrams, yin and yang, feng shui, but he also knew magic and had mystical methods. The couple greeted Jiang Xiao as if they were socializing, and asked him to leave with a few hundred yuan to give Nangong Koer some face. Then, they continued to listen to Master Chang's words. The sorcerer held a compass in his hand, and kept saying something. Qin Waiting listened calmly and nodded. Nangong Koer frowned slightly when she saw that her uncle was so cold to Jiang Xiao. Jiang Xiao was able to predict that she had been engaged since she was a child, so he must have some ability. Nangong Qin said, Koer, your uncle is busy, so don't make trouble for him. Aunt, how could I make trouble for you? Nangong Qin said. I'm busy at the company, so I can't take care of you. You should go back to the capital as soon as possible, so that your parents won't worry about you. Nangong Koer frowned and looked at Jiang Xiao, who was standing next to her. Did you see anything? Jiang Xiao squinted his eyes and glanced around the whole construction site. Everything in his sight was different from usual. The color had changed, and everything had turned gray. If there was any supernatural energy, it would turn red, which was very conspicuous in this dark color. This was the heavenly motion sect's least popular spirit-seeking technique. Nangong Koer knew that the sorcerer had cast a spell. She held her breath nervously, and blinked her big bright eyes from time to time, hoping that the sorcerer could find the reason. You're playing tricks. An employee of Wanji Group sneered. He thought that Miss Nangong was too young and inexperienced to be fooled by Jiang Xiao. However, he was the vice president of Wanji Group and Qin Weiping's most capable assistant, so he was very smart. Master Chang suddenly shouted, I got it. Qin Weiping and his wife were overjoyed. Master Zhang, have you found the reason? Master Zhang pointed at the 3-way junction in the distance and said, Please look over there. What does it look like? Does it look like a pocket? The terrain really did look like a pocket. This is called 3 forks into evil spirit. The evil spirit is the same as the water flow, and they all gather at the bottom. Once the evil spirit gathers too much, the yang qi will be dispersed when people breathe it in. If they can't bear it for a while, they will have hallucinations and even faint. He was talking about feng shui, which made it easier for Qin Weiping, who was educated, to accept. I see. Qin Weiping said. Master Chang, do you have a solution? It doesn't matter. I'll set up a yin-yang feng shui formation to dilute the evil spirit here with some external yang qi. When the building is built in the future, there will be a lot of people, and the evil spirit will be suppressed. Then it will be completely solved. Really? Qin Weiping didn't believe in this at first, but the strange things he had encountered made him believe it. Nonsense. While Qin Weiping and his wife, as well as the senior management of Wanji Group, were overjoyed, a voice suddenly interrupted. Everyone was shocked and looked over. It was the young sorcerer invited by Nangong Koer. Chapter 30. Who are you? How dare you talk nonsense here? Everyone's eyes were as sharp as knives as they looked at Jiang Xiao, especially Qin Weiping. His eyes were so cold that it was frightening. Finally, there was a glimmer of hope to solve the problem of the project, but you actually came out to cause trouble. Nangong Qin looked at her husband apologetically. This man was invited by her niece, so it was her fault. If he caused trouble and ruined the family business, she would be blamed by her husband. At the same time, she cursed Jiang Xiu in her heart. If it weren't for he wouldn't even have the right to enter the construction site. Do you know where you are? How much money is involved in this project? You're just a teenager, yet you dare to interrupt and spout nonsense. How dare you say that Master Zhang is spouting nonsense? Qin Weiping frowned. Master Luo, what do you mean? Jiang Xiu said. What do I mean? I mean it literally. Don't you think I've made myself clear? This man is talking nonsense here. Everyone was in an uproar. It was one thing for you to insult him behind his back, but now you're insulting him in front of everyone. Not only is Chairman Qin here, but there are also some officials in the municipal government. Are you trying to make trouble here? Qin Weiping's face darkened, and he didn't care about Nangong Koer's feelings anymore. He was afraid that if he offended Master Zhang, he would leave in a huff, and the project worth more than 1 billion yuan would be ruined. Since when is it your turn to interrupt? Jiang Xiu glanced at him calmly. Miss Nangong invited me here. Since I've been invited, I'll do what I can. Qin Weiping was so angry that he glared at Nangong Koer. Normally, he wouldn't dare to offend the little princess of the Nangong family, but this was no small matter. His eyes were full of reprimand and warning. Nangong Koer was also quite embarrassed. Even though she was quite confident in Jiang Xiu, she couldn't help but feel shaken. She also felt that Jiang Xiu was a bit too arrogant, as he was a famous sorcerer in the Jiangnan province. But Jiang Xiu was still as calm as ever. Master Chang was still very calm. Little friend, are you also a cultivator? Then we can discuss it with each other. I wonder if I've said anything wrong. Please correct me, little friend. Everyone nodded and praised him. He was indeed worthy of being Master Chang, the top great mage in Jiangnan. TSK. Look at his demeanor. He really had the demeanor of a great master. He was so humble to a teenager. Everyone looked at Jiang Xiu with even more contempt and disgust. Jiang Xiu said, How can you discuss the Tao with someone who talks nonsense? Hua, the crowd was in an uproar. A dignified master has already given you a way out, and you still want to take advantage of it? Master Chang frowned. Little friend, which sect do you belong to? How dare you spout such nonsense? Jiang Xiu said, You're not qualified to know the name of my sect. Humph. Master Chang could no longer suppress his anger. This kid had looked down on him again and again. The people around him also felt that Jiang Xiu was too arrogant, and simply looked down on everyone. Not qualified? Haha, ridiculous, extremely ridiculous. Even Dragon Tiger Mountain, Banmen Gate, Sage Sect, and other secluded sects have a close personal relationship with me. How can you not know that there are sects in this world that I, Zhang Taizhan, am not qualified to know about? Jiang Xiu said. There are many sects that you don't know about. Master Chang was so angry that he laughed. Today I'll put down my pride and have a fight with you. Hearing that there was going to be a fight, everyone present became excited. Master Zhang, teach this kid a lesson. Haha, this kid is dead for sure. He has angered Master Chang. He's too rude. If I were him, I would be angry too. Let's see how he ends up. Jiang Xiu smiled faintly. How do you want to fight? Zhang Taizhan said, We have 3 competitions, talisman fighting, ghost catching and rain praying. He looked up at the sky. It hasn't rained in Jiang City for a while. The weather is dry, so let's have a competition of praying for rain. Okay, Master Zhang, good job. But everyone was suspicious. The time limit for praying for rain was long. An autumn rain would last for several hours, and sometimes they had to wait for the rain to come. Bring that here. Zhang Taizhan pointed at a corner not far away, where some paper horses were piled up. They should be used for rituals. There was a river in Jiang City, so there was a Dragon King temple in it. He was referring to the Dragon King temple. Everyone carried the Dragon King temple out. Today I'll show you what real magic is. Zhang Taizhan sneered. At that time, I'd like to see if you still dare to boast shamelessly. As soon as he finished speaking, he muttered something and made a gesture in the void. The people present didn't feel it, But Jiang Xiu felt that an invisible water primordial qi was attracted by Zhang Taizhan. Zhang Taizhan raised his right hand, and the sound of flowing water came from his palm. Then, water droplets condensed in the air at a speed visible to the naked eye. And the water droplets were growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, they were as big as a fist, shining blue in the sun. They were crystal clear and moving, and the sound of flowing water could be heard. Shocked, everyone was shocked. My God! Many people cried out in surprise. In the world's impression, most of the masters were liars who pretended to be mysterious. They had never seen such a method, so they were really shocked. Qin Weiping was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Even Nangong Ko covered her mouth. This water is borrowed from the Dragon King. Go. The water ball in Zhang Tieshan's hand seemed to have thousands of kilograms of weight. He dragged it up with great effort. With a bang, like a water pipe bursting, the water in the water ball shot up 5 or 6 meters high and sprinkled down like a fountain. Wow! The people present all shouted loudly, because they were already drenched by the water droplet. Miracle! It's a miracle! Qin Weiping shouted excitedly. What he had seen today had completely overturned his worldview. Masters really existed, and magic was really something. Master, a real great master! Zhang Taizhan shouted angrily as he pushed the water droplet into the air. The water sprinkled down like rain, and he strode over. Boy, I, Zhang Taizhan, have been in the world of magic for 40 years, and my magic power is beyond your imagination. You're just a little boy, what do you know? Have you ever seen a paper bird chasing an eagle? Have you ever seen the fire god asking for directions? Have you ever learned the 33 basics of magic? Do you know what it means to have thousands of spells? With every question, Master Chang took a step forward. After a few steps, he was already standing in front of Jiang Xiu. His aura was overwhelming, and he was unstoppable. I'm afraid you can't even tell me the most basic 72 talismans, and yet you're boasting shamelessly here. I, Zhang Taizhan, became Master Kongxi's disciple when I was 3 years old, and after 20 years of hard work, I finally made some progress. After that, I traveled all over the world and chased away countless ghosts and demons. In 1984, Yin soldiers appeared in Huainan City, and countless passers-by were killed. The mountain collapsed, and it was I who cast a spell to lead the Yin soldiers into the mountain, and averted the disaster. In 1994, the tomb of Di Ying appeared in Shijing's ancient ridge, and the 1,000-year-old Yin spirit swept through half of the city. Shijing almost became a ghost town, and it was I who sealed the 1,000-year-old Yin spirit again. In 1997, Hong Kong returned, and the demonic dragon of the South Sea was causing trouble. It was I who suppressed it with a rare treasure, and quelled the disaster. I, Zhang Taizhan, have never made a single mistake in my cultivation. You're just a brat who's still wet behind the ears, and you dare to humiliate this master in front of everyone. Zhang Taizhan was seething with anger. Just now, it was a miracle, and everyone present was filled with respect. If what he said was true, then he really was a master of this generation, and a Taoist sect. So powerful. Everyone's hearts were filled with shock. Let's go, let's go. Seeing how powerful Zhang Taizhan was, even Nangong Ko was shocked. She was also worried that the people she found would make a fool of themselves, so she suggested leaving. That's fine. Jiang Xiu nodded. What, are you scared now, and want to run away? Zhang Taizhan said. Didn't you say that this master was talking nonsense? Didn't you say that this master didn't even have the qualifications to know your sect? Now what do you have to say? Qin Weiping said. Hurry up and apologize to this master. Ha ha ha. Jiang Xiu said. Miss Nangong asked me to help, and I agreed to her request. But today, you disrespected this senior, so why should this senior meddle in other people's business? But, Jiang Xiu was stunned. Before we leave, I'll let you see this senior's ability. He raised his finger, and a piece of talisman paper appeared in his hand. This was a real talisman paper, not a coin. He whispered, and the talisman on it appeared. With a buzz, the talisman burned, and he threw it onto the paper horse in the Dragon King temple. This was made of paper, and the Dragon King temple immediately burned. Praying for rain, you're praying for rain, what a joke. Just now he fell into the water for less than a minute, and the area was less than 100 meters, and this was considered praying for rain? The Dragon King temple burned, and suddenly, the sky was covered with dark clouds, and the whole world became dark. Everyone was shocked, and the next moment, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Under this background, Jiang Xiu had already stepped out. With a loud bang, he was like a god, and lightning wandered around him. When he walked out of the construction site, the heavy rain had already poured down. The rain was madly trying to extinguish the Dragon King temple. Not only the construction site, but the whole Tangqian district, and even the whole Jiang city, was in heavy rain. Everyone was drenched in the heavy rain, and they were stunned on the spot. Master Chang pointed at Jiang Xiu, trembling all over, and couldn't say a word. You only dare to pray for rain to the Dragon King, but this senior will directly burn his house. His voice fell, and only that domineering voice echoed in the sky. Chapter 31. It's the mysterious technique, it's the mysterious technique. Zhang Taizhan was stunned on the spot. After a long time he exclaimed loudly. He was so shocked that he couldn't be any more shocked. The heavy rain fell heavily on his body. Master Zhang, what's a shield-type secret technique? Asked the sorcerer who did not understand. The mysterious technique is an ancient secret technique that has been lost for many years. It's an extremely high level of magic. Zhang Taizhan said deeply. It uses power to drive the gods for one's own use. As everyone knows, the magic of us mages comes from sacrificing to the gods. We borrow the power of the gods for our own use. Some borrow the power of the gods, some borrow the power of the gods, and some borrow the power of the gods. In short, we borrow the power of the gods by praying. And the technique of the Shikigami is to servant the gods. When the others heard this, they were all shocked. It was really unimaginable that a mere mortal could serve the gods. He just said that he burned the Dragon King's house. Zhang Taizhan nodded seriously and said, That's right. This is the secret of the mysterious technique. Connecting the paper horse Dragon King temple with the real Dragon King temple, and then burning it is equivalent to burning the Dragon King's house. The Dragon King could only rain to extinguish the fire. So this heavy rain was to extinguish the fire on the paper horse. Qin Weiping asked, Then I wonder if Master Chang can do it? He looked down on Jiang Xiu and was already angry. He didn't expect Jiang Xiu to be so strong. At this moment, he was very nervous and terrified. Zhang Taizhan looked embarrassed. It was obvious who was better. If he continued to show off, he would only be a joke. It could be said that Jiang Xiu had taught him a lesson. Setting fire to the Dragon King temple to force the Dragon King to reign was an eye-opener for him. Jiang Xiu's limitless wisdom had certainly opened his mind. But what was even more astonishing was that he had connected the Dragon King temple made of paper horses with the real Dragon King temple. This was the real mystery of this secret skill. It was already incredible to connect the paper horse to the Dragon King temple. What's more, Jiang Xiu was able to connect the paper horse to the Dragon King temple with a snap of his fingers, forcing the dragon god to reign. It was really incredible and shocking. This one. I am ashamed. Zhang Taizhan stuttered for a long time but couldn't say anything. In the end he could only shake his head in shame. He claimed to be a grandmaster, but now he knew that there was always someone better than him. However, although Jiang Xiu was strong, Zhang Taizhan didn't believe that his judgment was wrong. But when he looked up at the mouth of the three-forked fiend, he was stunned. After being washed by the heavy rain, the fiendish energy of the three-forked fiend was now clear and bright. How is this possible? Zhang Tieshan's face was ashen. He was wrong, really wrong. This was not the three-fork evil spirits. It was just an ordinary shady terrain. The evil spirits gathered there had been washed away by the heavy rain. Jiang City was a city with a lot of rain. In other words, it was impossible to form a place where evil spirits gathered here. Then the strange things at the construction site would not be caused by this reason. What's wrong? Qin Weiping still didn't know what had happened. Zhang Taizhan said, The evil spirit at the crossroads has dispersed. There was more just now. Qin Weiping said. What does that mean? Zhang Taizhan blushed with shame. That master is right. I'm incompetent. I made a mistake. Ah. Qin Weiping asked. Then does Master Chang have any other ideas? Zhang Taizhan shook his head. That young master is so powerful. He must have a way. Qin Weiping felt as if he had just woken up from a dream. That man was here just now. Where did he go? The master didn't recognize him and even scolded him. Now it was not easy to ask him to help. If this project really failed, it would be a disaster. What are you waiting for? Go and find him. Oh, only then did the high-level officials of Wanji come to their senses. Jiang Xiu was no longer at the construction site. There were so many people outside. Everyone's attention was focused on Nangong Ko. She was the one who had invited Jiang Xiu here. Nangong Qin said. Ko, go and ask that master to come here again. Nangong Ko had kindly invited the master to help her solve the problem. Not only did she not thank him, but she was also scolded by him. She felt very aggrieved. Fortunately, Jiang Xiu had helped her. But his methods were really shocking. Otherwise, she would have been labeled as a troublemaker. She really didn't know how to appreciate kindness. Miss Nangong stopped asking for help. It's not easy to invite him. I've already invited him here once. It's you who didn't appreciate it. You offended him. You have to find a way. Well, I've been away for so long. My parents must be worried. I'm going back to the capital. After saying that, she strode out of the construction site. You see. Qin Weiping pointed at Nangong Ko, who had just turned around and left, and he was quite angry. You see, her parents have spoiled her so much. Does she really think we can only rely on her? Nangong Qin said. I'll call her mother later. The older she gets, the more unreasonable she becomes. She didn't realize that Nangong Ko had her own pride, and no one would dare to look down on her or lecture her for no reason. If anyone dared to do so, she would retaliate with all her might. This was the most important way for a person to win respect, even if it was in front of their parents. When Jiang Xiu heard the sound of a speeding car, he turned around and saw that the red Ferrari had already sped up and was right next to him. Nangong Ko rolled down the window, and her wet hair stuck to her snow-white face, which made her look like a young girl. Hey, Master Luo, are you going back to school? Jiang Xiu said. You're here to plead for them. Nangong Ko smiled. You're thinking too much. Hurry up and get in the car. They're looking down on you. If you help them, I'll look down on you. A hint of surprise flashed in Jiang Xiu's eyes. This girl has a bad temper with me. After sitting in the car, Nangong Ko felt like she was getting to know him all over again. The magic he had just used really opened her eyes. Your magic is quite powerful. Who did you learn it from? Of course it's my teacher. Nangong Ko said. He's much better than those people who fish for fame. Let me introduce myself. I'm Nangong Ko, from the imperial capital. I came to Jiang City, but that's not important. Is your name Jiang Luoxia? Yes. What a strange name. Nangong Ko didn't expect that the person next to her was her fiancé, Jiang Xiu, whom she had never met before. I'll go back to the imperial capital after sending you back to school. I don't know when I'll come to Jiang City again. Enter your phone number. She handed her phone to Jiang Xiu. If you have a chance to come to the imperial capital, give me a call. I'll treat you to the most famous roast duck in the imperial capital. After Nangong Ko sent Jiang Xiu back to school, the two parted ways. In Nangong Ko's eyes, they were just strangers who had met by chance, and they might never meet again after today. Goodbye, Jiang City. I'll never see that fat pig Jiang Xiu again. After that day, Qin Weiping found a few more famous sorcerers. However, the paranormal situation at the Wanji River Town project didn't get better. Instead, it got worse. At first, there were only problems when people entered the construction site. However, it soon spread to the residential area near the construction site. Many residents woke up in the middle of the night and found themselves lying on the road. However, on the third day, not only were the residents in the neighborhood affected, But all the cars on the road in front of the construction site were also affected. There were countless casualties. What? You want Wanji to suspend the Wanji Square project? Qin Weiping stood up from his desk when he received a call from the city government. Do you know how much money Wanji has invested in this project? 3 billion won. 3 billion. I have to pay back more than 3 million in a day's worth of bank loans, and you're telling me to suspend the project? You were the one who begged me to invest in Jiang City. You invited me with all kinds of advantages, and now you want me to suspend it? Qin Weiping's eyes were bloodshot. Brother Weiping, I know you invested a lot of money in Wanji, but now the impact is very bad. The traffic and life in Runha area are completely paralyzed. The citizens have a lot of opinions. Not only the municipal government, but some people have also gone to the provincial government. We can't do anything. Qin Weiping's heart sank. We don't want the project to be suspended either, but we can't do anything about it. Qin Weiping said, give me a few more days and I'll solve the problem. 3 days, brother. I can only help you for 3 more days. If I can't solve it, the government will issue an order to suspend the Wanji Square project and rebuild that broken temple. After hanging up the phone, Qin Weiping lost his soul. If the project was suspended, everything would go down the drain. Qin Weiping would have nothing, and everything would have to start from scratch. Hire sorcerers, no matter how much it costs. Chapter 32. Ever since the supernatural incident happened at the construction site, Wanji had hired many sorcerers and spent a lot of money. However, instead of getting better, the situation was getting worse. They really couldn't do anything about it now. Qin Weiping and Nangong Qin sat opposite each other in silence. The office was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. The atmosphere was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. After a long time, Qin Weiping put out his cigarette and said, why don't we call Ko, and ask where the sorcerer is? He had searched all over Jiangcheng, but he couldn't find him. Of course, he couldn't find him. The sorcerer was studying at school. Nangong Qin said, I called her, but she didn't say anything. I asked my sister-in-law to ask her, but I don't know what's wrong with my sister-in-law, but she rejected me. Nangong Ko and her mother knew that there must be a reason for her daughter's attitude. According to their daughter's character, if Nangong Qin hadn't gone too far, she wouldn't have acted like this. Therefore, they naturally stood on her daughter's side. Qin Weiping said angrily, your brother is getting more and more powerful, and his family is getting more and more arrogant. They don't even think about it. If the old man hadn't given him all the family's resources, he wouldn't have been able to do it so smoothly. Now they're giving back to us like this. Nangong Qin saw that her husband was angry, but she didn't say anything. After all, he was just a son-in-law. The Nangong family's resources wouldn't belong to him. Moreover, he was just a businessman. In the eyes of the powerful, businessmen were just low-level existences that could be easily manipulated. The office fell silent once again. At this point, Wanji seemed to have no way out. They regretted that they had looked down on Jiang Xiu, the real sorcerer. Before Zhang Taizhan left, he said that if Jiang Luoxia could see that his judgment was wrong, then he must know what the problem was. Nangong Qin said, why don't we call the old man Tang Jinshan? He's a local in Jiangcheng. Maybe he has a solution? Qin Weiping thought for a while, then picked up the phone and called Tang Jinshan. Hello, is the old man Tang there? I'm Qin Weiping. Please wait a moment. Adong answered the phone. Old master, it's Qin Weiping from Wanji. Hey, I'm Tang Jinshan. Qin Weiping said. Old man, you have to help me. Qin Weiping briefly explained the trouble at hand. Of course, he did not mention the part where he left the mages behind. Ha ha ha. Tang Jinshan laughed heartily. Weiping, how could a real magician bend his back for 3 bushels of rice? If you want those real masters to show up, money alone is not enough. You also need something else that interests them. Qin Weiping said. What is old master referring to? He was a little confused, not knowing what the mage was interested in. On the other end of the phone, Tang Jinshan simply said, magic weapon. Artifact. For a mere merchant, that thing was too illusory. Yes, magic weapon, Tang Jinshan said. The so-called magic weapon has many miraculous functions such as adjusting feng shui, seeking good fortune, avoiding calamity, subduing demons, and so on. For a magician, a magic weapon is like a sword in the hands of a swordsman. The only thing that can interest a real magician is a magic weapon. If you use magic weapons as a gimmick, you will definitely attract real masters. Qin Weiping said awkwardly, but I don't have any magic weapons. If even those magicians could not get their hands on magic weapons, where could he get them? Could it be that old master has one? Tang Jinshan shook his head. Magic weapons were something that could not be asked for. He said, I've always wanted one, but I never had the fortune. However, my family has collected a lot of antiques that are suspected to be magic weapons. It's enough to hold a convention to appreciate magic weapons. With this as an excuse, it should be able to attract real magicians. As for whether you can invite them in the end, that will depend on your ability. Qin Weiping was overjoyed. Thank you, old master. He did not believe it. Did magicians not need to eat? Did they not need to spend money? Who would be afraid of having too much money? There was a physics class in the classroom, and the teacher's saliva was flying everywhere as the students listened attentively. Only Jiang Xiu sat upright, but his eyes were tightly shut, as if he had fallen asleep. This wasn't the first time the teacher had noticed him, but this student was a little special. He was famous for beating up the discipline master, and the principal had even lost his position because of this incident. Now, even the teachers didn't dare to provoke him. Let him do whatever he wanted. The teacher had misunderstood. Our student Jiang Xiu was not sleeping, but observing. He was prying into the mysteries of his own body. Jiang Xiu was in the middle of cultivating, constantly unearthing the latent power of his divine body. He wanted to enter the second awakened realm. Every time he broke through, his divine power would increase dramatically. However, after cultivating for a few days, Jiang Xiu discovered that his progress was very slow. The reason for this was that his Protoss bloodline had been sealed away for too long, and that he lacked heavenly treasures. Ding-ling-ling. The bell rang, signaling the end of class. The teacher delayed the class for another 10 minutes. It was the last class, and many of the teachers treated it like a treasure. Delaying for 10 minutes was already considered polite, and some even delayed for half an hour. After class, Jiang Xiu impatiently rushed to the cafeteria. He had cultivated for an entire afternoon, and had consumed a lot of blood essence. Jiang Xiu was starving. Jiang Xiu. What? Yi Bing said, There's no water in the classroom. Go fetch some buckets. Jiang Xiu's eyes went wide. He wondered if he had misheard. She actually wanted him, a dignified student of spiritual cultivation, to fetch water. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You actually dare to ask me to fetch water? Yi Bing wrinkled her brows. This brat was truly hateful, putting on airs for no reason. What? You're still not willing? Are you even a member of this class? Obediently follow me. Jiang Xiu stuffed his hands into his pockets, turned around and walked away. You, Wei Quan, who was in the same dorm as Jiang Xiu, said, Jiang Xiu, not bad. You're so awesome now. You don't even put the school beauty Yi Bing in your eyes. This bro really admires you. You're actually not moved by such a beautiful girl. I say, brat, is your brain short-circuited? What a good opportunity to be alone with her. Jiang Xiu faintly smiled. His eyes were filled with disdain. It was obvious that he had never dated a girl before. Since I have fate with you, I'll teach you a thing or two. Many women are like this. The more you pamper and curry favor with her, the more she doesn't take you seriously. But the more you act like you're 1,000 miles away from her, the more she'll take the initiative to approach you. Wei Quan was stunned on the spot because of Jiang Xiu's words. After quite a while, he patted his head and chased after him. Damn, Jiang Xiu, not bad. I couldn't tell. Brat, you have some skills. Let's exchange 2 more moves. Jiang Xiu said. This move is enough for you to use for a lifetime. There were quite a lot of people in the cafeteria during mealtime. Alright, Jiang Xiu. Tonight, we're going to climb over the wall and go online. Are you coming? I'm not going. He was a cultivation maniac. How could he waste such a good time to cultivate at night? You guys go out all day at night. It's a waste of the dorm fees. Oh right, I have to pay the dorm fees again. Jiang Xiu heard this and said, You haven't paid for this semester yet. Not yet. Jiang Xiu furrowed his brows and said, How much do you need? 1,800. Spiritual cultivation didn't bat an eyelid, but the muscles at the corners of his eyes twitched. As far as he knew, parents had to tighten their belts every semester to pay for tuition and dorm fees. He had already been reborn. The grand spiritual cultivation really couldn't bring himself to ask his parents for money. They might not even have the money to borrow from Wei Quan and the others. Moreover, their friendship wasn't that good. After thinking about it, he only thought of Yi Bing. Classmate Yi Bing. Yi Bing heard Jiang Xiu's voice and felt some resentment for no reason. She coldly said, What, I'm busy right now. She directly hung up on Jiang Xiu without any trace of politeness. But her phone immediately rang again. Yi Bing somewhat helplessly picked it up. You're so annoying. I'm busy right now. Classmate Yi Bing, I'm in a bit of trouble and need your help. Yi Bing really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She glanced at Lu Xiaoyin on the side, then walked to the side and said, Is there something wrong with you? Why are you looking for me if you're in trouble? Jiang Xiu said, We're classmates. I'm closest to you, so I can only ask for your help. Count it as me owing you a favor. In the future, as long as you have any wishes, I'll be able to fulfill them for you. Yi Bing chuckled and said disdainfully, You talk big, but I really can't think of anything. What can you help me with? Jiang Xiu smiled faintly. Who hasn't met with a bit of trouble in their life? He knew that in the future, Yi Bing's love life wouldn't be smooth. In the end, she would walk on the road of no return. Classmate Yi Bing said, Are you asking for help? Why does it sound like you're ordering me? If you're asking for help, you should act like you're asking for help. Classmate Yi Bing, I'm begging you. No sincerity. I'm begging you, little sister Bing. Yi Bing wasn't moved by his words of begging her, but when he called her little sister Bing, her face and ears turned red. She spat. You're really shameless. Who's your little sister Bing? Call me Big Sister. Tell me, why are you looking for me? Big Sister, I want to borrow 1,800 from you. Yi Bing's beautiful eyes widened. You want to borrow money from me? After all, they were only high school students. The financial power was in the hands of their parents. But Yi Bing quickly understood what was going on. Jiang Xiu's family wasn't well off, and it was time for him to pay for his accommodation. Alright, go to the small forest next to the school field and wait for me. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.